Komaba Ritoku is 35 years old and single. He eats grilled steak at his apartment for dinner. It's delicious. He always liked being alone, his luxurious life as a bachelor. No need to argue with anyone and no need to constantly compromise. When you are alone, you spend money as you please. You live freely and breathe deeply. That is why he did not want to get married. Lived alone and died alone. He lived freely. How could he have any regrets? And he met people who called themselves gods. The god shouts that if he had a partner, he wouldn't die alone. He points to the second god, saying that he likes him. This is the quote of loneliness. And he invites Ritoku to his world. Basically, he was offered to be reborn in another world. He was asked to choose any skills, and Ritoku chose the best skills to live alone. Healthy body, control of any element, fencing, martial arts, and craftsman magician. These 5 are enough. God asks if he is sure that such ordinary skills will satisfy him. There are skills much better. Ritoku is not interested in them. All he wants in another world. It's a graceful bachelor life, and he won't give up his point of view. There is a baby in the cradle. It is Ritoku. He has indeed been reborn, which means that those who are now in front of him are his parents. Ritoku is surprised when his mother takes him in her arms. His parents coo over him. His mother pokes him in the cheek. Ritoku realizes that he is, in fact, 35 years old. He screams. His parents think he is happy, but he is not. He should have asked God to skip childhood. His parents smile at him. Ritoku winces. If this continues, he will die of stress. His father says that he thinks he needs a diaper change. Ritoku freezes. He starts to panic and he doesn't want to scream. He'd rather die than let someone wipe his ass. His father changes his diaper. His mother says it's time for breastfeeding. She picks him up. Ritoku thinks this is hell. 8 years later. The boy is sitting in the library. His father, Les Lauren, looks in the door and asks Zirk what he is doing. Zilk Lauren, this is Ritoku's second name in his new life. He is drawing up plans for a new magical tool. He was reborn in a world where there are monsters and magic, a true fantasy world. There are many people in this city. Magicians show tricks to children. Adventurers boast about the loot after the task. In this world, there is something similar to household appliances, magic tools, but in terms of functionality, they are still far from household appliances. When God told him about this world, Zirk thought, why not create something close to home appliances for a comfortable life? So one of the skills he asked for was craftsman magician. The Luran family is studying magical tools. The god of loneliness must have thrown him here on purpose. Father asks what he came up with. Zirk shows him the drawings. He called it a refrigerator. By maintaining the temperature inside, food can be stored for a long time. Father is shocked. In summer, food does not keep well, so it is usually dried or salted. Zirk thought that if he could cook fresh food all year round, it would increase the number of dishes that could be prepared. Father, in shock, calls Mother to come to them. Food is the main pleasure in Zirk's life. He would like to develop this direction first of all. Mom, Mira Lurin, comes up and wonders if Zilk really came up with this. Looking at the drawing, Dad is worried about the strength and duration of the cold they will get from the ice magic stone. Zilk explains that cold air sinks. As long as the cold is not too strong, there should be no problem. The parents are shocked. Mom understands. That's why he attached the stone on top. But it would also be nice to be able to freeze products. Zilk still needs to finalize the drawing. Maybe then use 2 stones at once? No, you need to take into account the depletion of the magic stone and look at the drawing more broadly. Father shouts that Zilk is a genius. Mom covers her mouth with her hands, tears in her eyes. Dad repeats that he is a genius. Zilk is shocked. At his age, to invent something like that, Zilk is a real genius. And this refrigerator of his will probably sell well. The maids look into the room, attracted by the lively noise. They admire that the young gentleman himself invented a new magic tool. It's amazing he's only 8. It's even scary. Sometimes you can't believe that he's really 8 years old. Mom hugs Zilk. He can change this world. Dad picks him up. He has a bright future and even more. Zilk can't breathe in their arms. They hug him and pat him on the head. With him, their family has nothing to fear for their future. Sometimes Zilk doesn't get so annoyed by this. He continues to think about the drawing. Efficiency is not so easy to increase. While he is a child, he needs to constantly develop, absorb information, and learn a lot of new things. Everything is going according to plan. Someone shouts, brother to him from behind. It's Ilia Lurin and Art Lurin. They're calling him to play. Zilk ignores them. Everything is going according to plan. His quiet life is just around the corner. Ilia grabs his coat and pulls. He's indignant that she'll tear his clothes. He is busy improving the magic tool. Let Ilia and Art play together. Ilia screams that she doesn't want to. She wants to play with him. He is always like this, never plays with her, only constantly writes and reads something. Zilk sighs and gets up from the table. He agrees to play with them today. What do they want to do? Ilia and Art's eyes light up. Ilia wants to play tag. Art wants to play hide and seek. It can't be helped. Zilka always has time to finalize the drawing. The duty of the eldest son is to take care of the younger ones. Come to think of it, in his past life he was always upset that he couldn't do what he wanted because of this. Is this the same thing happening in this life? Ilia yells at him to catch up and count to 10 as he runs away. He yells at them not to run around the house. He wants to become a full-fledged master of making magic tools as soon as possible. He wants to leave his parents' house already. In the capital, Zilk is studying at the academy. A mock battle, the third group. Zilk grips a stick like a sword. The teacher gives them the go-ahead. Zilk and another student run at each other. The student swings. Zilk jumps. He lands behind the student, who doesn't have time to react when Zilk attacks and knocks the stick out of his hands. How did he do that? Then, the student decides to attack with fire. He is good at it. Zilk blocks the attack with several elements. The teacher shouts that the fight is over. The student is shocked. How can Zilk control all the elements? Equally, is it possible to use more than 3? Zilk is asked if he wants to become a hunter or a knight in the future, but he is not interested. At the family table, Zilk decides to warn everyone right away that he is not planning on marrying anyone in the future. The whole family freezes. Father says that there are many different girls at the academy. Hasn't he really liked any of them? Zilk nods. Father assumes that he likes boys then, but that's not the point. Zilk is not interested in marriage. He doesn't need marriage. He realized that in his past life. The girl tells him that he is somehow distant. He is not interested in her anymore. Sometimes he needs to be alone. Let her not bother him today. The girl cries and asks why he is dating her at all. She runs away. There is no place for people in Zilka's heart. It is much nicer to spend time alone, not tied to anyone. This is real freedom. And in this life, he is not going to change anything. Father says that if he does not marry, they put on. Zilk is not interested in this. After all, not only the eldest son can receive the inheritance. He thanks his parents for the food. His father hopes that he will change his mind when he meets someone. His mother agrees. Time will pass, and Zilk will change his mind. He will definitely find a worthy bride. His name is Zilk Lurin. He is 28 years old and still has no plans to get married. Now he lives alone in the capital. Zilk qualified as a master of magical instruments, opened his own workshop in the capital, and makes a living selling the magical instruments he developed himself. He looks into the refrigerator. He needs to make it even smaller. It's nice that he managed to reproduce it, but the size is noticeably larger. The refrigerator has made the Lurin family incredibly rich. In addition to the refrigerator, over the past 20 years he has developed a bunch of other things. A fan, a hairdryer, a magic burner. Oh, the toast is ready. He cuts his toast and takes a bite. Delicious. This hot sandwich toaster could sell well. It seems that Zilk has made a wonderful magical instrument as always. Birds fly in the sky. Zilk goes outside and looks up at the sun. Freedom. Family. The problem of inheritance. Constant matchmaking. Finally, it's all behind us. Zilk has endured it all. He is walking down the street. Someone approaches him, offering a nice girl as a great option. Zilk declines. The man recently bought him a new magical tool. As always, it works great. Zilk thanks him. We need to continue to develop new ones. If we can create even more comfort, his life will be perfect. Master of magical instruments, Zilk Lurin. And in this world, he will live an elegant bachelor life. Eat when you want and what you want. Can there be anything better? It's true, fried meat tastes much better if you eat it alone. The market is crowded with people. Vendors are calling out to customers, offering their goods, juicy red beef, elephant tuna. Zilk walks along the street. In his previous life, he lived alone and died alone. Because of his lifestyle, the god of loneliness suggested that he be reborn in another world. He was born into the Lurin family, a family of magic toolmakers. Everything was fine until he invented the refrigerator at the age of 8. As he grew older, everyone tried to get him married, and the noise around him became more and more. Day after day, he ignored this enormous pressure, and now 28 years have passed since his rebirth. He received a license as a master of magical instruments, and began to enjoy the bachelor life in the capital. Zilk passes through the gate and raises his head. "Today I have to work." He enters the building and is immediately greeted. It's Tristan, his worker. He wishes him a good morning. Zilk answers him and takes off his coat. Tristan asks if he's in a bad mood today. Zilk doesn't understand why he thinks so. Tristan says he has a gloomy face. A smile suits him much better. Let him smile. Like this, he puts on a wide smile. And then Zilk will be popular. Zilk turns away. He doesn't need popularity, but thanks for caring. Tristan calls him boring. In his place, he would constantly have fun with girls. Zilk is amazed at his energy. Zilk asks if the processing of the ice magic stones is finished. Tristan says that everything is ready. His job is to process the magic stones. The magic stone is the core of the monster and cannot be used in its original form. Tristan's duties include performing various tasks, such as giving it a convenient shape and smoothing out the unevenness of the stone's surface. Zilk praises him and tells him to process other stones as well. Another worker, Rudge, comes in and they all say good morning to each other. Her job is sales, and she has brought an order for a new magic tool. She looks for customers and arranges delivery, and is generally responsible for non-production tasks. Tristan groans. "Another one?" Rudge says it's good to have work. Tristan agrees, but they clearly don't have enough hands for that kind of work. Rudge agrees. Come to think of it, there are only 2 workers. She tells Zilk that they are clearly making good money from the fridge. Why not add more staff? Zilk says there is no need. Rudge says that if they add more staff, sales will increase. There are still plenty of people in the world who need magic tools. Zilk has said many times that he creates magical tools to make his life more comfortable. He doesn't care about others. Rudge sighs. His outlook on life doesn't change at all. Tristan moans that they still need workers. Zilk asks why. Tristan clutches his head. If this continues, he will never find a girlfriend. Rudge is beautiful, but already married, and they have no other girlfriends, only a gloomy boss. He will never find a girlfriend in such a job. And Tristan is almost 18 years old. He wants love. He wants to get married. Zilk says that work is not a place for romantic relationships, and what good is marriage? Property becomes common and cannot be used at your discretion. Free time for hobbies and interests will be limited, and you will have to earn a lot more for gifts that will satisfy women. Tristan complains to Rudge that Zilk says mean things to him. Rudge says that he is basically right, but he is distorting the meaning. Is marriage really that bad? It is great to spend time with your loved one. Enjoy raising your children. Zilk knows that her position is popular in society, but he prefers to be alone. He does not like to spend time with others and does not get along with children. They've argued about this hundreds of times. There's no point in continuing. Tristan says he'll never get married like this. Zilk tells him not to be mistaken. He doesn't need it. He's not going to get married. If he's not interested, then don't let anyone try to matchmake him. And he doesn't want to hear whining about how someone can't find a girlfriend. Tristan should start working instead. Rudge sighs, tall, huge income, college education and attractive appearance. Why is Zilk like that? Evening has come. Rudge asks if it's time to finish the working day. Zilk says that's all for today. Tristan suggests having a snack together. A new restaurant with interesting meat dishes has recently opened. Fried meat, where you have to cook the meat yourself, cut into thin slices. Rudge knows this restaurant. It's always crowded. It's called the Manga Roast Meat Restaurant. Zilk hasn't eaten meat in a long time. It would be just right. Rudge apologizes. She has to go home today. There's no one to look after the baby, so she can't. Tristan is upset. Today is the perfect day for roast meat. She wanted to go, but it is important to pay attention to her children. Rudge runs away. Then Tristan will not go either. What is the point of going there with a man? Zilk says that he is right. Tristan says goodbye to him. Zilk decides to go alone. He walks down the street, passing people sitting at tables outside. It smells so delicious it makes his mouth water. He remembers that it's just dinner time. There is a long line in front of the restaurant. A worker asks Zilka to stand in line. Someone shouts at him that he is an idiot and tells him to let him through. The cook apologizes to Zilk. He just hired this guy, still very green. He hits him and tells him to apologize right now. The worker apologizes. Zilk says that everything is fine. It seems that their restaurant is thriving. The cook nods. and is thanks to him. He took Zilk's advice and is grateful to him from the bottom of his heart. First of all, Zilk tried for himself. He asks if his place is free. The cook says of course and offers to show him. Zilk goes to his place. He sits down at the table and ties a scarf around his neck. There is a small grill on the table in front of him. The cook asks what he wants. Zilka as usual. The cook nods. Everything will be ready now. Beef tongue. Sliced thick, thin strips of skirt steak and rib meat. All red beef and a glass of ale. This restaurant has the best red beef. Zilk begins to fry the meat. The aging techniques, the cutting, the seasonings, everything at Mano is on a whole other level compared to other meat restaurants. Zilk cooks and eats. He washes it all down with ale and puts the glass down on the table with a smile. Delicious. He thinks he would hardly have gotten this feeling of satisfaction if he had come with colleagues. Tristan would probably have asked what he was eating. Rudge would scream that she wanted more gnocchi. They would make noise and create chaos around. Then Zilk would not be able to enjoy the taste of meat. It's good that he came alone. The waitress sighs. Mr. Zilk is always so cool. It's her turn to take his order. The other waitress complains that it's not fair. The cook looms menacingly behind them. He tells them to take his orders, but not to stick to him. He sighs, yes. Zilk Lurin is their regular customer and benefactor. His successful restaurant was in complete decline. Not long ago, there were no customers. That's how it is. New restaurants were opening one after another in the capital. The competition was just crazy. His restaurant didn't have a chance. There was no income. The situation was stalemate. But one day, Zilk goes inside. He is immediately greeted. Zilk says he hasn't had many customers lately. Is the restaurant still going strong? The chef sighs. No, his old restaurant can't keep up with the new food trends. So he needs something that will attract new customers to his meat. Zilk looks at the sign and gets an idea. The owner is shocked. Cut the meat into thin slices and let the customer fry it himself? This is exactly what Zilk suggests. Let them fry the meat themselves. The owner does not understand what nonsense this is. It is understandable when a chef prepares meat. But he hears for the first time about a customer frying his own meat. Zilk says that it is more fun to fry it yourself. The owner is shocked. Surely the customers will not make claims? Nevertheless, he decided to take a risk. He had nothing to lose anyway. And as a result, the customers are delighted. While you sit and wait, your mouth is watering. It's convenient when you can order meat from different parts of the body. And these seasonings go well with the meat, even the lemon seasoning. The customer asks for more. The waitress awkwardly agrees. The worker shouts that there are too many customers. They can't keep up. The owner's head is already boiling. This year has been very successful. Long lines every day and no financial problems, all thanks to Mr. Zilk. The waitresses peek out from behind the boss, wondering if Zilk is always alone. Usually, everyone eats and grills meat together, having fun. The owner says that everyone enjoys it in their own way. Mr. Zilk likes to be alone, so let them leave him alone. The waitresses agree. Zilk chews his meat. Now it's time to get serious about finding rice. Zilk is sitting at home at his desk in front of his blueprints. He sighs, thinking that today he would be able to figure out how to recreate the air conditioner. Zilk hasn't been out in town for a long time. The Adventurers Guild, an organization of people who mostly make their living by defeating monsters. Zilk looks at the notice board. Cleaning, carrying luggage, gathering materials, hunting small monsters. Great, since there are no particularly dangerous monsters, we can start gathering materials. He tears down the notice board. The girl behind the counter calls the next person. Zilk approaches her. She greets him and asks what he wants today. Zilk hands her a torn piece of paper. He wants to take a request for materials. The girl looks at the request. A request for kilk grass and button mushrooms from the eastern forest. She asks if Zilk would be better off joining another group. He has risen to B rank on his own, and he would surely reach even greater heights in a group. Zilk politely declines. He sees a clear disadvantage in joining another group. If he joins a group with his blessing of the god of loneliness, his physical abilities will be greatly weakened. A few years ago, Zilk was on a quest in a group, and he was attacked by a slime. People are said to become stronger when they work together. But this doesn't apply to Zilk at all. They had to leave, because Zilk was injured while he was just standing. Zilk leaves and throws over his shoulder that he has no intention of raising his rank. The girl, confused, agrees. Zilk went into the forest. Kilk grass eliminates the smell of meat, and fish and food has an antibacterial effect. Button mushrooms are delicious when you boil them, fry them, always delicious. Zilk collects materials, these are just great. He decides that this is enough, now he can use the magic bag. Its capacity is much greater than it seems, there is no limit to the number of items. Such things are called artifacts. They have a power that goes beyond human capabilities. It cannot be reproduced using modern magical technologies. This is their main difference from magical instruments. Artifacts are rare treasures that are mostly found in the dungeon, so they have a very high price. Some adventurers go to the dungeons in the hope of getting rich. Zilk puts the materials in a bag. Artifacts are strange things. Even he, a master of magical tools, cannot understand how they work. There is a mysterious romance in them. Artifacts, technologies unknown to people. Artifacts are able to give a completely different level of comfort, which cannot be obtained with the help of magical tools. Zilk's heart trembles. He loves comfort. He turns around, feeling something. Behind him, a wild boar with sharp tusks is preparing to attack, probably angry that Zilk took his favorite mushrooms. Come to think of it, Zilk hasn't warmed up in a while. This is a great opportunity. He draws his sword. The boar runs towards him. Zilk dodges. The boar flies forward. Zilk prepares to continue the fight, but the boar's tusks get stuck in a tree. It's been a warm-up. But Zilk is not going to let the boar go. He gets materials from the black boar. Now we can finish collecting materials. Maybe we should go there again? Zilk walks through the forest. He is happy when he bumps into something. It opens up to a large lake. Birds fly in the clear sky. It's always so beautiful here. And here, alone, Zilk can... He stumbles upon a man relaxing nearby on a sun lounger under an awning. Zilk is angry. What a bastard. Well, it's none of his business. Anyone can come here. From his point of view, it's Zilk who might be superfluous. He passes by and puts up his awning. Great, that's how it is. He takes out the food and the portable homemade smoker. Time to smoke. First, everything needs to be cut and laid out beautifully. Then light it, turn on the smoker, and then insert the tube into the lid. Done. Now Zilk won't die of hunger. It's been smoking for a long time. The taste should be excellent. Zilk reads a book while he waits. It will be ready soon. He takes the lid off the finished food. A guy comes up to Zilk from the side. His eyes are shining. He looks delicious. Zilk looks at him with displeasure. Who the hell is he? The guy introduces himself. His name is Isekai'd. Again, some weirdo, annoying. Zilk looks around. It's the guy from the next tent. Zilk's look scares Isekai'd. It smelled so damn good that he became curious. Zilk tells him to go to his room. He has satisfied his curiosity. Zilk cooks so interestingly. Is it tasty? Zilk wouldn't carry it around with him if it wasn't tasty. Isekai'd asks to try a little. Maybe he's never eaten smoked meats? Zilk hands him a skewer. Let him take it and choose one thing that he likes best. Isekai'd smiles. He spears a piece of cheese on a skewer and sniffs it. He has never smelled such a smell. It smells like smoke, but not quite. He tries it. His eyes widen. Delicious! What kind of cheese is this? Something special? Zilk says it's a regular cheese. He bought it at the market in the city center. Isekai'd wonders how ordinary cheese can taste so good. It has a unique taste and aroma. It's like it's on a whole other level. He looks at the other products. What kind of food is this? It's smoked. Isekai'd wonders if the smoke also gives them a sophisticated taste. Zilk explains that this is not a regular smoke. They have to use carefully selected chips to give it flavor. Isekai'd looks at the bag of chips. Is that sawdust? Zilk nods. It is apple sawdust. He snatches the bag from Isekai'd. Isekai'd asks if he can try the rest. Zilk sighs and tells him to bring a plate. He won't give it to him without one. Isekai'd runs off and returns with glasses and a bottle of wine. Zilk is surprised. Isekai'd hands him the bottle. This is in gratitude for the delicious food he gave him. This is Cerberus wine, a rare wine produced in Cerberus, a famous wine region, from where only a few hundred bottles are shipped each year. Isekai'd is glad that he knows it can be considered a jewel, not a wine. He offers to drink it. Zilk happily accepts. They are sitting each in their own tent. Zilk is drinking wine. It is very tasty. Smoked meats and wine are a perfect combination. Zilk didn't think he'd get to try this wine. In his past life, solo campers often traded what they had. Giving away something tasty in exchange for another tasty thing, he always liked that. Isekai'd shouts from his perch how delicious it is. Zilk thinks maybe he'll go fishing after dinner. He returns to town quite late. He wants to cook fried fish for dinner. He freezes. There's a carriage in front of his house, Has someone from his family arrived? No, there's no coat of arms, just an ordinary carriage. An indignant girl approaches him from behind. Her brother has finally appeared. Zilk turns around in fear. It's Ilya. Zilk is confused. What an unpleasant surprise. It turns out it was his family's carriage after all. He asks if she came alone. Of course not. Ilya alone would not be allowed to go. With her is Gilliam, the butler and bodyguard of the Lurin family. Zilk asks if they came on purpose in a carriage without a crest. Ilya says that if she had come in the family carriage, Zilk would have run away as soon as he saw them. Zilk asks why they came then. Ilya is indignant. What do you mean why? An invitation to a family dinner, it probably came to Zilk. Zilk remembers it seems like something like that happened. He won't go, he has a lot of work. Ilya objects, he will go with her. Zilk turns around, he won't go. Ilya grabs his hand, he will go. Zilk has been refusing for a year. His mother is worried. His father said to bring him along, so let him show his face. Zilk is surprised. Did his father ask her? Gilliam bows. Everyone in the mansion is worried. Let the young master spare a little time. Zilk can't refuse Gilliam. He sighs and agrees, but he must not call him young master. Gilliam thanks him. Zilk goes to get ready and come down to them. Elijah asks if he wants to invite them into the house. Zilk says no. Elijah is indignant. Zilk says he won't let strangers into his house. Ilya grabs him by the clothes. She's actually his sister. Once, when Ilya came into his room, she broke the magic tools, so he won't let her in. Ilya screams that it was 15 years ago. Zilk tells her not to scream, she'll scare the neighbors. They arrive at the Lurin's house. Their father meets them, happy to see Zilk. They haven't seen each other for a year. He asks how Zilk is doing. Only a year has passed. Nothing has changed for Zilk. Father laughs. Zilk is like mother, does not age with the years. Ilya tells father that they can talk at the table. Father agrees. Mother is sitting at the table. She asks why Zilk arrived so late. Zilka needed time to prepare. You can't call her so suddenly. Mom says the letter was sent in advance. Ilya complains that he waved her off and didn't want to go. They had to drag her by force. She traveled so long to get to him, she was tired from the road, and Someone puts a hand on Zilka's shoulder. It's Ilya's husband, Ludwig. Zilka is surprised that he is here, too. It's a family dinner. Obviously, Ludwig will be here. He's an alchemist who used to work with Zilk. Now he's Ilya's husband. Honestly, Zilk didn't think it would turn out like this. In fact, when Zilk met him last week, Ludwig said he didn't want to go to a family dinner. Zilk remembers what he said. Ludwig suddenly steps on his foot and makes a scary face. Zilk asks, does he want to seem silky in front of his mother? Of course. He has to show his best side, Zilk snorts, one of the downsides of marriage. Ludwig changes the subject and asks his daughter, Selah, if she is happy to see Uncle Zilk. Selah is surprised. Is he her uncle? Zilk's father laughs. Zilk is so rare that Selah has forgotten what he looks like. Ilya grins and asks her little brother to introduce himself to his sweet niece. He grits his teeth and introduces himself as Zilk Lurin. Selah asks why Uncle isn't married yet. Ilya praises her. It's a good question. Mom picks up. He's already 28. When's the wedding? Zilk sighs. It started again. He's not going to get married. Ilya asks why. Zilk prefers to live alone. He doesn't care about marriage. How many more times does this have to be repeated? Ilya asks if he's into boys. Zilk gets angry. No. Then where's his girlfriend? He doesn't need her. Mom sighs. Hasn't any girl caught his eye yet? Ludwig's friends and colleagues often asked him to introduce them to him. Ilya agrees. Zilk can be called a magnet for girls. Handsome, tall, rich, an aristocrat, the perfect man. Any woman could be in his power. Why is he like this? Mom hopes that there will be a girl who will change his views. Zilk wants to go home. He asks where Art is. Ilya says that he is at a party and could not come. Zilk is indignant. Why Art cannot come, but he cannot. Mama says that Zilk hasn't shown up for a year. He has no right not to come. Ilya asks if he doesn't understand that he is always free thanks to him. For his sake, Art took on the responsibilities of the eldest son and went out into society. Zilk apologizes to him. Father says that's enough. Let's eat already. Selah is hungry too. Mom asks if Zilk eats normally at home. Zilk cooks himself what he likes. Ilya grins, which means he buys himself expensive meat and fries it. and washes it down with expensive alcohol. Zilk tries to deny it. He doesn't finish the sentence, realizing that she is right. Mom worries that with such a diet he will have health problems later. Zilk says that everything is fine, he will not get sick, thanks to the blessing of the god of loneliness. He has never been sick in his life. Ilya thinks about it, because it is true. The parents continue to wail. Zilk wants to go home again. Sayla's stomach rumbles. She asks if they are going to eat. The father apologizes to her. Ilya offers her a drink. Zilk thinks that Sayla is an angel. She can be used. Father makes a toast. May their family prosper in the future. To the bottom. Everyone clinks glasses. Ludwig notices an unfamiliar fish on the plate. Ilya asks, "Did Zilk catch it?" Zilk confirms, "This fish is called Sabana. He wanted to eat fish today." It looks delicious. Ludwig and his father try the fish. They are surprised. His father asks if it is really Sabana. He has eaten it before, but the taste is different. Ludwig notes that it does not taste like simple fried fish either. Sayla also tries it. It's delicious. Ilya is surprised. She doesn't like fish. Sayla says that this one doesn't stink. Gilliam says that it's because he cooked it with the help of the magical tool Zilk. Ludwig sees it for the first time. Zilk explains that special chips are burned in it, and then the fish is smoked. Ludwig examines the smokehouse. Zilk has done something brilliant again. He asks to sell him one. His father wants one too. Zilk wants to refuse, but that would be more trouble. He agrees to make them one each. How he wants to go home. The next day, a tired Zilk sits in the workshop. No progress. Because of yesterday, he is too tired. Tristan went to lunch break. Zilk is going to go too. There's something he wants to try. No, he can't. He hasn't made any progress today. He needs to work on it some more. Or maybe he should just take a break. In the brain of a man who can't concentrate, fish dance among the blueprints. Zilk enters a busy market. The vendor asks what he wants. Zilk orders seafood soup and crab skewers. They charge him 900 sores and ask him to come again. A wonderful smell. Zilk wants to start with the shell crab. He bites off a piece of the claw and chews with pleasure. The juicy taste of the crab spreads in your mouth. It is well seasoned and cooked on charcoal. The taste is delicious. It eats up the crab, and the soup looks filling. He wants to start with the broth, taking a sip. The rich seafood flavor with the sour tomato aftertaste, all simmered, with some chili, adding a nice kick. Now he can taste the grounds. He moans contentedly and quickly eats the soup. Leaving an empty plate, he thanks for the treat. It was a wonderful dinner. They hand him a piece of paper. He takes it and only then realizes he took it automatically. No big deal, just a boring leaflet, you can just throw it away. He unfolds the leaflet. Zilk reads it with surprise. It talks about an orchestra concert. Katerina takes a step. It hurts. The shoes are so uncomfortable. They tell her that they are already starting. The orchestra takes its places. Katerina is confused. She asks to wait. Surprisingly, in his past life, Zilk listened to classical music on CD, but lived the experience is completely different. This world has its own musical instruments, although they are similar to those in Zilka's world. He looks at the lizard with the strange, twisted pipe. He doesn't understand what it is, whether it will make a sound at all. It doesn't look like it can work without magic. Magic? Right. In this world, the instrument doesn't have to be of normal shape. If the cooler shape is also curved like this instrument, it might work. Zilk wants to go back before he forgets. The orchestra plays. Rudge says goodbye to Zilk at the door. He compliments her on her work. He came up with a design for the cooler. Someone calls him. Tristan suggests they have dinner together. Zilk wonders if it isn't awful when two men go to a restaurant together. Tristan pretends he doesn't remember saying that. Zilk is about to go home. Tristan stops him. He folds his hands in a pleading gesture. He's broke and asking for a loan. Zilk grabs him by the shoulders. He pays him enough. Tristan awkwardly explains that he gave a present to his girlfriend from the cabaret club. Zilk goes home. Tristan clings to his leg, asks him not to leave, and to feed him expensive food. He makes a pleading face. He has never eaten with Zilk before. Zilk thinks, if you think about it, it is the duty of the boss to take care of his subordinates. They walk around the city in the evening. Tristan wants to go to Migo. Zilk refuses. He was there recently. Tristan is shocked. With whom? Does Zilk have a girlfriend or friends? Zilk was walking alone. Tristan is surprised. There are people there grilling meat together, having fun and chatting. If he can't go to Mige, let him take him wherever he wants. Zilk was gonna do that. Zilk notices the sign, he apologizes, he needs to go to the artifact shop for a while. Tristan winces. Seriously, if Zilk goes in there, it's gonna be a long time. He yells at him to wait while Zilk goes to the door. Ardius artifact shop. The guard is all clad in armor. Tristan gets goosebumps from him. Zilk says that he is simply obsessed with artifacts. Tristan thinks that everyone who loves artifacts is crazy. Zilk never gets tired of coming here. Tristan looks at the display cases. Have the artifacts always been this expensive? The owner of Ardius, Guan, confirms that the artifacts, no matter how useful they are unique and cannot be reproduced, so the price is justified. Tristan does not understand this. However, Zilk has been visiting them often. He came 3 days ago. No big deal, Zilk is not against spending money on artifacts. Let Guan tell me if there is anything new. There is. Zilk might even like some of it, Zilk says to show it. Guan shows him the cup. At first glance, it is just a cup without a wide rim, no decorations, nothing superfluous. Where is the catch? Guan tells him to look. He tells the cup to fill, and with a hissing sound, it fills with liquid. Zilk is shocked. Come on, the cup creates carbonated water? Guan confirms, pouring water into the glass. It is a foam cup. In this world, there is a mysterious source from which carbonated water is extracted. That is why it is hard to get and is a luxury for rich people. Zilk drinks the water and puts the glass down. He asks how much. Tristan is surprised behind his back. Is Zilk really going to buy it? Guan names the price of 30 million. Zilk immediately agrees. He takes it. He happily signs a contract. Tristan clutches his head in shock. 30 million? For that kind of money, you can build a house in the capital from scratch. For just 30 million, Zilk can now make a carbonated cocktail at any time, and it can even be used to open your own bar. There are hundreds of ways to use it. Guan nods. Let him not doubt that it can be put to good use. Let him take it. Tristan moans. In front of a poor man like him, this is a mockery. Zilk says that he doesn't have money only because he doesn't know how to manage finances. Zilk loves to shop like this. If he had a wife or kids, he would probably be accused of spending money on himself when he should be providing for his family. Bachelors are free from responsibility. You plan your life only for yourself. It's wonderful to be free. Tristan is happy that they will now go to eat, but Zilk declares that he is going home. Tristan is in a panic. Will he not be fed? Zilk is not going to carry around a 30 million artifact. Tristan understands that Zilk just wants to use him quickly. Zilk does not deny it. He says that they will go another time. Guan sighs. Zilk has a lot of money. He is damn handsome. But with such a character, he will never marry. Tristan agrees. Zilk looks at the goblet at home. It sparkles so much. A real treasure. I wonder what material it is made of. In any case, now you can drink sparkling water whenever you want. Zilk decides to make a cocktail in a highball. At first, he thought to use magic to break the ice, but he should be able to do it himself. He cuts the ice with a knife and a hammer. It turns out just perfect. He puts the ice in a glass. Zilk opens a bottle of alcohol and pours it into a glass. Stirring it, he takes the cup and commands it to fill up. Carbonated water appears. He adds it to the glass. Zilk drinks the resulting cocktail, thinking it might go well with a highball. Fried chicken, he spears a piece on his fork and bites into it. Hot but delicious. The garlic and ginger sauce is perfect. Now you can also pour lemon juice on top. With lemon, it's even better. He continues to eat chicken, washing it down with a cocktail. Such luxury, and only for 30 million. Here it is, the result of his efforts to live a free bachelor life. And finally, he lives the life of his dreams. A toast to his efforts. Come to think of it, a lot has happened today. The design idea suddenly came to him, and he was able to buy such a valuable cup for only 30 million. He raises his cup. Today is a beautiful day. May his dreams come true in the future. Tomorrow he will drink a spritz, he hums happily. The girl comes home. She is very tired, but she slaps herself on the cheeks. She needs to focus on music. Her name is Katerina McClare. To find her place in the world of music, she left her home and lives alone in the capital. She can't survive in the world of music. If she can't cope with loneliness, she has to hold on. The blisters on her heels hurt. She falls to her knees. She still needs to change her shoes. She doesn't want to wear those shoes anymore. She goes into the living room. It's a terrible mess. She has to clean up. When Katerina was little, servants did everything for her, so she never did it herself. She falls on the sofa. She will do it next time. Now it is time for bed. She jumps up again. It is not time for sleep, she is hungry. She has old dried vegetables and meat of unknown origin. Katerina decides that it is better to skip dinner today. After all, the refrigerator does not allow you to store food forever, and it is also huge. Couldn't it be made more compact? Katerina has already sent letters of request to the creator, Silk Luren, many times, but it seems that the improved products have not started to sell. Now it is time to practice playing the violin. She tunes the magic instrument for soundproofing so that the music cannot be heard from outside, and begins to play. She also hears music from behind the wall, a noisy neighbor, a guy. She tries to concentrate, but these sounds disturb her. Katerina gets angry and kicks the wall. She falls to the floor, clutching her leg, and behind the wall they are singing again. She shouts at him that if he is going to sing, he should put up some soundproofing. Behind the wall, Silk is singing while eating his dinner. Silk is walking down the street. He thought he would have breakfast at the same coffee shop as usual, but there are too many people there. Where should he go? He notices an empty establishment. Has this coffee shop always been here? Silk walks inside. The waiter greets him and offers him to take any place he likes. Silk takes off his coat. There is such a calm atmosphere and almost no people. He looks at the menu. He will take a breakfast set and thinks what to drink. He is distracted by the smell of the drink that the owner is preparing behind the counter. Silk asks if it is really coffee. The owner is surprised that he knows about coffee. Silk drank it a long time ago. Coffee exists in this world, but it is not widely available. Silk has already drunk all the coffee he managed to find in the capital. The owner also tried coffee a long time ago when he was still traveling and could not forget the taste, so he decided to open his own coffee shop. Unfortunately, coffee attracts few customers so far, but he continues to experiment. Silk thinks that the locals do not know how to enjoy drinks and agrees out loud. Few can understand the charm of coffee the first time. Silk asks if the owner can pour him coffee with his breakfast set. The owner agrees. He makes Silk coffee. He puts ground beans into the coffee maker and boils water. He stirs the coffee while it brews, and then pours it into a cup. He serves Silk his coffee. Silk thanks him. The aroma is wonderful. The quality of the coffee is strikingly different from what Silk could make himself. The color is beautiful, and there is no sour smell. Silk takes a sip. Very tasty. The owner is glad that he liked it. He was worried about serving him coffee, since Silk had already had it before. Silk assures him that everything is fine. The owner asks his name. Not many people here like coffee. His name is Rondell. He hands Silk his breakfast. Silk introduces himself. His name is Silk Luren. Rondell wonders, is he really the inventor? Silk confirms. Such a famous master of magical instruments has visited Rondell's modest coffee shop. It is a great honor for him. Silk waves it off. Rondell welcomes the new visitor. This is Mr. Noid. He says that they haven't seen each other for a long time, and that he finally got his long-awaited day off. The job of a butler is not an easy one. Noid approaches the counter, wondering if anyone else here orders coffee. A rare thing. He orders the same thing as Silk's, and Rondell promises to make it. Tristan says good morning. Silk does too. Tristan looks at him with displeasure. Silk asks what's wrong. Tristan is offended after refusing to take him out to eat. He says that Silk is in a good mood today. Silk asks if he wants to know the reason. Tristan doesn't want to. The sparkling water from the artifact Silk bought yesterday made a great brew, paired perfectly with fried chicken. And that's not all. Tristan covers his ears and screams that he doesn't want to listen to him. Reg tells him to stop. Silk is just that kind of person. She hands Silk a piece of paper. It's a complaint. Silk asks who it's from. It's from Katerina. He clutches the paper. Tristan jumps up indignantly. That's Snake Katerina again. Silk is also unhappy. What kind of person is she? Sends complaint after complaint. Rudge says that she seems to have all the magical tools developed by Silk. Tristan is surprised. Some rich woman. Zilka doesn't care how much she bought. A complaint is a complaint. Rudge says it's unlikely she's writing them to offend anyone. Most often they describe the inconveniences of everyday use, as well as moments that prevent women from using the tool. Zilk agrees. There are indeed little things that were missed during development, but who cares? 9 out of 10 women are happy with everything. Tristan doesn't understand. She doesn't understand anything about magic tools. Why write then? It's hard to change anything in the current designs. There are no useless parts in magic tools. If you remove something for the sake of size, nothing will work. Reg says that they must strive for perfection, to satisfy all the wishes of the customers. Isn't that their goal? Zilk doesn't care. He doesn't care. He makes magical instruments for his own comfort. The crumpled complaint flies into the trash can. The conductor says that they are done for today, they can leave. The orchestra members agree to go out to eat together. Katerina sighs. She almost fell flat on her face during the concert. When she gets home, she will have to rehearse herself. Conductor Eldoba calls her, asking her to come over for a minute. She is scared. What's the matter? Did he really notice how she shied away from rehearsal? He asks, has she always been interested in composing music? Katerina agrees. For the next concert, they need original music. Usually Eldoba composes it, but now he has a lot of other work. Katerina wonders, does he really rely on her? Eldoba has not entrusted this to her alone, but if her music is the best, they will play it? She agrees. Katerina agrees confidently. Eldoba says she has a week. Composing music is not easy, but rehearsals are important too. Katerina curses silently, he notices. She wonders if she can do it. She has to try, you never know when another chance might come along. This is where Katharina McClare's talent will be revealed. She clutches her head. Her mind is completely empty. 6 days have passed and she hasn't come up with anything. It's already evening and she hasn't even rehearsed. No big deal. She'll just skip dinner and sleep less. First she needs to play something, and maybe something will come to mind. She takes the violin. Behind the wall, they start singing again. Katerina starts getting angry again, but she suddenly realizes that the rhythm is not bad. She starts playing along. She holds the sheets of music. It's done. It turned out pretty good. But it's just her neighbor's song, which she took apart and wrote down. Isn't that plagiarism? Katerina has listened to music all her life, but her neighbor's songs are something completely new. What if he's some famous musician? No. Katerina's pride won't let her use it. She throws the sheets away. She'll compose a new one. Katerina runs to the rehearsal, apologizing for being late. Eldoba calms her down. Not everyone has arrived yet. They are handing in music today. Has she finished it yet? Katerina nods. She will get it now. The music sheets scatter on the floor. She apologizes. Eldoba bends down to pick them up. Is it hers? He looks at the notes. Katerina freezes. Eldoba is surprised. Another song. Katerina panics. She was in a hurry this morning and put the first version down. She stutters and tries to take the sheets. Eldoba puts out his hand, not letting her. He is delighted. The first one was mediocre, but the second one looks fresh and innovative. Katerina feels insulted. Eldoba will show the others, but they will probably choose this option. He praises Katerina. Katerina awkwardly thanks and silently prays that she will not be chosen. Zilk is sitting at a concert. The music is very similar to what he liked in his past life. No, if you listen closely, this is it. Katerina has a great composition. The tickets for the next concept are already sold out. Katerina said before that she wants to compose music, but who knew that she had such talent? Katerina is embarrassed. She thanks her colleagues. Eldoba calls Katerina to come over. There is another man next to him, so it was Katerina who composed this beautiful composition. This is the director of the opera house, Marco Monpacino. Katerina is pleased to meet him. She also introduces herself and bows. A big shot. Moments when young talents show themselves make Marco's heart flutter. Thanks to Katerina, their opera house is on everyone's lips, and he does not want to miss this opportunity. Katerina does not understand. He asks if Katerina can write another composition. It will be hard to top this one, but he is sure she can do it. Katerina is in a panic. Eldoba turns to her, asking, she can do it, right? Katerina awkwardly agrees, not knowing what to do. She clutches her head. She definitely won't be able to surpass this composition, especially since Eldoba didn't like what she composed. With her abilities, she won't satisfy the listeners. She decides to eavesdrop on her neighbor's song again and record an arrangement for it. So after the rehearsal, Katerina went home and eavesdropped on her neighbor all day long, hoping that he would sing. And now he begins to sing, but for some reason very modestly today. Should she really give in? But if she doesn't hear him today, there's no telling when he'll sing again. Go, Catherine McClare.
And why did he stop singing?
She is kneeling in front of the neighbor's door, her ear pressed to it. Come on, let him continue singing. The door suddenly swings open, hitting her on the forehead. Katerina screams and falls to the floor. They and Zilk look at each other in surprise. Zilk looks in the fridge. He's out of ginger. He'll have to cook fried chicken without it. Although, no, without it the taste is not the same. He goes to get dressed. The market should still be open. Zilk doesn't like shopping there, but he has no choice. Zilk looks at the frightened Katerina. Who is this strange woman, and why is she at his door? Has he seen her somewhere, or is it just his imagination? Katerina gets up and starts to complain. Can't she open the door more carefully? Zilk crosses his arms, displeased. Let him say that she wasn't standing by the door on purpose, but was just passing by. Zilk has no idea who she is, but what was she trying to do by sticking to his door? Katerina tries to deny it. Zilk says that if she lies again, he will hand her over to the guards as a stalker. Katerina is outraged. Zilk asks what she was doing there then. Ordinary passers-by don't sit at other people's doors. Katerina hesitates. Zilk looks at her threateningly. She folds her hands in front of her. She will explain everything, but let her not tell anyone. Zilk understands that she is probably going to tell the truth. He agrees to listen to her. Katerina awkwardly asks where they can talk. She lives next door, but it's better not to go there, and going to Zilk would be weird. Zilk is shocked that they are neighbors. They come to a coffee shop. They are told to take a seat they like. Katerina is delighted. It is very beautiful here. Zilk thinks that next time he will come alone. He asks if she has chosen what to drink. Katerina has not decided yet. She is looking at the menu. She sits, chooses, takes her time. Zilk thinks that she is strange. He orders 1 coffee from the owner. Katerina is surprised. Coffee is not on the menu. It is not in the regular one, but it is in the special one. Katerina decides to order coffee too. Zilk and the owner try to dissuade her. It is bitter, and not everyone will like it. If she has never drunk it, then it is better to choose something else. Katerina can handle it. It is bitter. Like green tea, right? The owner writes down 2 coffees in the order. There is elegance in Katerina's movements. The house they live in is not cheap, so she either earns well or comes from a wealthy family. Katerina offers to introduce herself before their drinks arrive. Zilk agrees. She is Katerina McClare, the second daughter of the McClare family, and plays the violin in the capital's orchestra. Zilk wonders, violin, orchestra? Exactly, that's where he saw her, a girl playing the violin at the theater. She's happy, he was at the concert, she asks his name. Zilk is surprised that the stalker doesn't know the name of the one she's stalking. Katerina is indignant that she's not a stalker. He introduces himself, Zilk Lurin, inventor of magical instruments. Katerina is shocked. She jumps up. She wrote him so many complaints, and nothing changed. He is a stubborn inventor. Zilk compares the complaints and Katerina. He also starts shouting, so she is the snake Katerina. It was not enough for her to send complaints to him at the office, so she decided to show up at his home. Katerina is outraged. Who is the snake here? And she only just found out that she lived next door to him. She is already pissing Zilk off. They are brought coffee and sugar with milk if they want to dilute it. Katerina sees this dark drink for the first time. It has a pleasant smell. She takes a sip. Her eyes widen. She grimaces bitterly. Zilk grins. She said she could handle it. Katerina said so, but the coffee is too bitter. Zilk advises her to add milk. It will be easier. Katerina agrees and adds milk to the coffee. The color has changed so much, Zilk tells her to try it. She tries it and blossoms. Now it's delicious. She can drink it. Zilk mentally exhales, thank God, otherwise she wouldn't like the coffee, and would be rude to the owner. Zilk asks if she was sitting outside his door not to complain, then what was she doing? Katerina assures that it was not because of a complaint. Then Zilk waits for the real reason. Katerina says it is a long story. Zilk asks to make it shorter. Katerina says she will try. That's how it is. Zilk crosses his arms. Did she really use his song? And since the first one was a success, they must have asked her to compose another one, Katerina awkwardly confirms. And so she couldn't think of anything better than to sit by his door and listen to Zilk sing. That is, she is not a stalker, but a voyeur. Katerina jumps up indignantly. It is his own fault that he can be heard through the wall. Let him try soundproofing. Zilk clears his throat. He is really to blame here. But that doesn't give her the right to sit outside someone else's door, Katerina understands. She asks for forgiveness. Zilk agrees. Katerina is surprised. He is not angry that she used his song. Zilk was disturbing her practice when he sang, "We can consider them even." Moreover, Zilk is not a musician, and this is not his song. He is about to leave, but Katerina clings to his clothes and stops him. His song, it wasn't Zilk who composed it. Katerina didn't hear right, did she? Zilk understands that if he tells her the truth, she will think he's crazy. He says that he's probably the only one in the whole country who knows it. Katerina's eyes light up. He probably has other masterpieces that no one knows. She can play them, they can't just go to waste. Zilk is shocked. He doesn't care, let him find another fool and let him go. Katerina asks him. She won't let him go until he agrees. Zilk tells her to sort out her own problems. She lets go of his coat and then offers to make a deal. Zilk listens to her. Zilk gives her his songs, she plays them, the earnings from one melody are about 300,000, she will give him 40%. Sounds good, but Katerina is sure that each song will bring such an income, and why does Zilk need her money? He is an inventor. If he wants, he can get any amount. Katerina curses. Zilk says that she is from the McClare family, let her offer him something unusual, a treasure or an artifact. Katerina thinks, it seems she had an artifact. Zilk immediately jumps up. What kind? Soundgarden. It can record about 5 songs and play them whenever you want. Zilk's eyes light up. It's like a player or a radio. He agrees. Katerina is surprised. He is actually damn expensive. Zilk will give her as many songs as she wants and may pay extra. It seems he loves artifacts a lot, but Katerina uses him herself, often plays music. Zilk gets up, then the conversation is over. Let him write if he changes his mind. Katerina clings to his coat again. They have agreed. She agrees. Her future depends on Zilk. Katerina hands Zilk the Soundgarden. This is what it is. Zilk is about to go to his apartment. Katerina stops him. She asks about her complaints. Did he even read them? Zilk didn't. He doesn't have time to read complaints. Katerina doesn't understand. He's an inventor of magical instruments. The opinions of customers should come first. With their help, he can improve his inventions. Zilk sighs, if only it were that easy. But complaints should be written logically and not guided by your feelings, and in general, let him first try to understand how magic tools work. He slams the door in front of her. We need to see how the artifact works. All the necessary buttons are there. It seems to have the same convenient functions as the player from Zilk's world. There is dirt under one button. Is it possible to treat artifacts like that? You need to wipe it, stupid woman. Oh well, now Zilk will take care of it. Okay, now we need to check how it works. Katerina said it's easy to use. The buttons with Roman numerals are the track number. Zilk presses the first button. The music starts playing. He missed this feeling. Violin, then. Zilk makes it louder. Great, I need to listen to everything. If I don't like something, I need to ask my friends to re-record it. There's only one violin here. They knock on the wall. Zilk presses pause. He shouts, asking what's wrong. From behind the wall, Katerina shouts that it's too loud. Let him use soundproofing. Zilk apologizes. He used to think that he would never need soundproofing, but apparently now he does. Okay, now we're looking for hidden functions. Artifacts don't have just one function. Zilk knows that. Most artifacts have not just one function, but even several, which you might not even guess about. Guan told him about it. We need to try it. He starts pressing the buttons in different ways, poking everything in a row. A voice comes from the artifact, congratulating him on finding the 6th entry. It's Elba McClare, the one who used the artifact, and Zilk is probably Katerina's new friend, or her boyfriend. He gave this artifact to Katerina for her birthday. Most likely he is no longer in this world. Katerina's grandfather or great-grandfather. Zilk is sorry that his granddaughter gave the artifact to the first person she met. Selba has a request, but let it be a secret for Katerina. If she is nearby, you need to press the delete and pause buttons at the same time. The thing is, he had a mistress. Zilk immediately presses the buttons. No way, he is not interested in other people's problems. Rudge sighs, it's already dark outside, negotiations with suppliers are dragging on. Tristan offers to walk her home. Rudge giggles, calling him unreliable. Tristan shouts that their master of magical tools is B rank. Even he is not that weak. If Rudge is afraid to go back alone, Zilk can lend her self-defense artifacts, so you can definitely fight off any villain. Self-defense artifacts look like ordinary jewelry. They should not stand out. Rudge is afraid that her husband will start to worry if he sees her wearing jewelry from another man. Tristan sighs. Zilk's artifacts are worth millions. But even for self-defense, wearing another man's jewelry is wrong. But it's not a gift. Zilk just wanted to borrow it for the employee's safety. Tristan says he doesn't understand. It hurts a man's heart. Zilk really doesn't understand. Rudge says it's still very sweet. Zilk waves them off and tells them to go home. See you tomorrow. He sighs it's time for him to go home too. He He walks down the street and looks at the sky. There are so many stars today. In his past life, the lights of apartment buildings and street lamps made it hard to see the stars. He stops and realizes that he has been staring at the stars. Where did he go? He needs to go back to the main street. Zilk notices a sign saying, "Ice Rock, is there a bar here? Maybe he should have a few drinks and then go home?" He walks inside the empty bar, a spacious place. The woman behind the counter greets him, cleaning a glass. An elf, beautiful and elegant, hired to attract customers? But there are no customers, so the quality is not very good. So this is a women's bar. Zilk is about to leave. The elf says that you should definitely have a drink before leaving. Leaving just like that is bad manners. Zilk decides to have a drink. He agrees. The elf asks for his order. Zilk asks for her discretion. She agrees. She begins to cast a spell. Zilk is surprised. It is ice magic, very complex magic, hard to control. The broken ice falls into the bowl. No doubt she is a very skilled magician. The elf takes the bottle. These drinks and ice, Zilk understands. This is a daiquiri. In this world it is also. White rum, sugar, lime juice. Next she has to add the syrup. Pink. Zilk tells her to wait. What is it? It's the nectar of the 1,000-day flower. The 1,000-day flower blooms once every 1,000 years. And only for a couple of hours. Its value is enormous. Zilk is shocked that they are using it. The elf says that it goes best with this cocktail. But Zilk doesn't see anything like a blender. What will she do? She mixes everything in a glass and uses magic again. The elf thanks him for waiting and hands him his daiquiri. Zilk is surprised. Even the name is the same. But the taste is the most important thing. Well done, of course, for using magic. But did it have the same sour taste? Was the ice crushed enough? Zilk takes a sip. Finely crushed ice, a pleasant sourness, and a refreshing taste. The perfect taste of alcohol. He admits in surprise that it is delicious. The elf smiles, of course. Zilk didn't expect that a cocktail with magic would turn out so delicious. She clearly has a lot of experience behind her. She spent a long time developing the recipe and technique. Everything is just perfect. He apologizes for calling the bar a women's bar. The elf laughs. No wonder he thought so. There are many such places around. She apologizes too. She likes to provoke people with her behavior. Zilk grins and asks for more. The elf agrees. Zilk hums as he works. Tristan winces. He is in a good mood again today, Zilk agrees. Tristan asks if he has found a good shop again. Zilk agrees he has found a great bar. The atmosphere is great. And he will not take Tristan to this bar. He also got an artifact from a violinist named Katerina. These days were very successful. Tristan has long been interested in what Zilk is making. Rudge is also curious. In one cafe, Zilk drank a drink called coffee, and he got the idea to make a device for grinding coffee beans. Of course, Zilk can always go to a coffee shop to drink coffee, but he wants to be able to drink it at home, so he decided to make a coffee grinder. Tristan asks what coffee beans are. Rudge doesn't know either. No wonder coffee is not very common in this country. Tristan is indignant that Zilk is collecting something unnecessary again. Let him collect something so that they will all be rich. This way he will make a lot of people happy, and it will be good for their workshop. Zilk tells him to shut up. Maybe he will sometimes make tools that are only useful to him. Tristan rushes to Rudge. She says that it is pointless. Zilk always builds what he wants. Tristan asks if this thing will sell. Zilk does not collect it for money. In fact, it is their job to sell what Zilk collects. Rudge has no idea what kind of coffee it is, but he will try to create a demand for it. Great, everything is ready, both the manual and automatic coffee grinder. That's it, Zilk has to go. Rudge and Tristan are surprised so early. Zilk needs to check if both grinders are working. They all worked late yesterday, so today they can leave early when they finish work. Rudge agrees. Zilk comes to the lake. Now you can immediately make coffee. He is called. It is 8. He smiles. They meet again. Zilk is indignant. Is he planning to live here? 8 denies it. It was just a coincidence. What are the chances that he came here just when Zilk wanted to drink coffee here? Well, he wasn't much of a bother last time, so God bless him. A girl runs up to them, calling out to 8. Today, 8 is not alone. She just really wanted to come here. Did she want to go with him, or did 8 really want to take her with him? She asks if they know each other. 8 nods. The girl asks his name. Eight understands that he told Zilk his name, but he never introduced himself. Zilk introduces himself, Zilk Lurin. The girl has heard this name before. A genius who created many magical tools. Zilk doesn't know about the genius, but he really created the tools. 8 asks, so when Rudge talks about his boss, she talks about him. Zilk is surprised, does he know Rudge? Rudge often places orders for resource extraction. She didn't tell about adventurers? Usually Zilk gives her instructions on what resources are needed. Where and how she gets them is of no interest to him. When something can't be bought at the market, adventurers are often hired to get the necessary resources. Eth is happy about the funny coincidence. The girl claps her hands. It's her turn. She is also an adventurer. Her name is Marielle. Zilk nods. Marielle is outraged by the lack of reaction. 8 says that he is not very emotional. He asks what Zilk is trying to do. Zilk explains that it is a prototype of a magical tool that grinds coffee beans. He wants to make coffee. 8 perks up. Wow, he knows about coffee too. Marielle asks about coffee. Is it some kind of drink? Eth explains that yes, it has a specific bitter taste, but he simply adores it. Eth asks Zilk to pour him some. Marielle too. Zilk thinks it will be better if several people try. Let them bring cups. Eth thanks him. His cup is in the tent. He'll bring it now. Marielle asks him to take one for her too. Zilk freezes. It's not strange that her mug is in Eth's tent, and they are left alone. What can I say? Marielle asks how long he has known Eth. Zilk says no, it is only the second time they have met. Marielle is surprised. They chat as if they have known each other for a long time. Eth is rarely so happy. Zilk asks what he is usually like. It's not that he's unfriendly, he's reliable and kind. It's just that he always seems to distance himself from his party members, including Marielle. Zilk is surprised. 8 is distancing himself? When they first met, he insistently asked for his smoked meat. Marielle was also surprised, as if he was more open with Zilk. Marielle asks Zilk to teach her how to become Eth's friend. Zilk thought so. It's no use asking him, let him give up trying. Marielle asks why. Zilk is clearly hiding something, you can tell from Eth's look. She begs him very much. She loves Eit, after all. Zilk sighs heavily. At first he helped with music. Now they've even put him down as a cupid. Zilk is a bachelor, and Marielle wants to consult him on love matters. Do I need to explain how pointless this is? Marielle is surprised. He is not married. Maybe he has a girlfriend? Zilk denies it. Marielle is shocked. He is a handsome man and an inventor of magical instruments. Why? He must necessarily give birth to a whole generation of geniuses. Doesn't he want that? Shouldn't he have no end of girls? Zilk is writhing. Here we go again. As soon as a woman finds out you're single, she immediately becomes an annoying matchmaker, irritating. Zilk thanks her for her concern, but she should think about herself. Marielle catches herself. Zilk regrets saying that. Now they'll go back to love advice. Maybe it's because they're similar. E2 is 28, and he's single too. There are other people in this world who, despite their age, are in no hurry to get married. Some of them might change their minds someday. Marielle asks if Eit also wants to be a bachelor. Until he asks, he won't know. Maybe there just hasn't been a girl he wants to marry yet. Maybe one day he'll want to get married. If he is like Zilk and does not want to marry, then what should Marielle do who wants to marry him? How to change his mind? Zilk advises her to learn to keep her distance. Single men at this age usually value their space and time very much. Don't demand too much and go overboard. Just let him value his free time and space, and when he's ready, he'll take the initiative himself. Zilk realizes that he and Eth are indeed similar in some way. Lonely people don't like to be tied down or restricted. He will quickly get tired if you impose on him every day. Also, such people are usually more cold-blooded and do not like it when their partner is too emotional. If Zilk ever has to get married, he will prefer mutual respect for each other's interests and time. His partner should never give in to unreasonable emotions. No hysterics. A partner who will support him in everything. And he her. Marielle wonders, someone like a best friend? You can say that, but if you put too much pressure on Eit and try to get closer to him, he will definitely run away. People like them have different values. Eth returns with mugs, asking what they are talking about. It seems they have become friends. Marielle denies he got it all wrong. Zilk asks what kind of bag he has. These are cookies. Eth bought in town. They should go great with coffee. Now that's a different story. Zilk will pour everyone some. Marielle likes the smell. Zilk nods. The aroma is good. Eth is happy. It is really coffee. Marielle tries it. The taste is bitter, but somehow pleasant. She likes it. Zilk agrees. Excellent coffee. Iet asks if he has any more. Zilka has a lot with him. Let them drink and not deny themselves. Iet is happy. Now they drink from another instrument. This one seems softer, easier to drink, but like the last one, it is very tasty. We immediately realized that these beans are lightly roasted and finely ground. Marielle likes this one better. Eth prefers it stronger. Zilka is ideally somewhere in between. Eth tells him to make something he likes. Zilk grumbles that if they continue to empty his supplies, the coffee will quickly run out. Eth offers to sell him one of the magic tools. Zilk refuses. It is still a prototype. Marielle wonders, is there anything else that can be improved? For example, durability. You need to decide which material is the most expensive and best suited. But if so, in return, Zilk wrote to Eth a coffee shop, where you can drink good coffee. He hands him a piece of paper. Eth is happy. Coffee shop Londell. He thanks Zilk. Zilk enters the coffee shop and goes to the owner. Behind the counter, he places magical tools in front of him. He tried to create a coffee grinder with his own hands and wants to know his opinion. The owner takes one coffee grinder, a wonderful thing, much more compact than his, but on the second one he does not see a handle. Zilk says that it has blades inside that rotate automatically. The owner is surprised. The automatic one will obviously have an advantage. You do not have to grind everything manually, so you can brew coffee faster. With the current coffee grinder, you can't serve a large number of people. The owner likes it. He wants to look inside, Zilk says, to take off the lid. Everything is easy to disassemble. The owner didn't expect less from Zilk. It's much more skillful than his. Zilk asks for his honest opinion. The owner believes that the metal is not quite suitable for the blades. With prolonged use, the grains will begin to give off a metallic taste, Zilk writes. Zilk starts to ask about his coffee grinder, but stops himself. Probably better not to ask what metal it is made of. It is not nice. The owner says that his coffee grinder has blades made from silver wolf claws. Zilk is surprised. He does not mind. The owner is very interested in his coffee grinder. He will be glad to help. He wants coffee to become more popular in the capital. Zilk thanks him. He still hasn't expressed his opinion. How do we like the coffee grinders? Are they convenient for making coffee? The owner agrees. He would gladly use both coffee grinders. The owner greets Mr. Noid as he enters the coffee shop. Noid notices the coffee grinders. A new acquisition? The owner points to Zilk, made by his dear client. Noid introduces himself to Zilk. Nice to meet you. If he doesn't mind, may I know his name? Zilk introduces himself. Noid wonders, Lurin, is he the eldest son of the Lurin family, the famous inventor of magical instruments? Yes, he is. Noid asks, is the owner trying out his instrument today? Zilk says it's his own coffee grinder. Zilka is standing nearby. Noid would like to try coffee from Zilk's coffee grinder. The owner agrees if Zilk doesn't mind. Zilk agrees. But he can't guarantee that the coffee will be as tasty. Noid doesn't mind. The owner will make a cup now. He turns the grinder much slower than Zilk. Maybe that's the secret of the delicious coffee? The owner hands them cups. Zilk takes a sip. After all, the owner's coffee is much tastier than his. A much more refined taste. The type of coffee beans can vary depending on humidity and temperature. Each type has its own brewing technique. The owner has been trained in this, but he still has a lot to learn. Zilk smiles. Even if coffee becomes more popular, there will be no decrease in customers here. Now they check another coffee grinder. Zilk explains that it is automatic. You need to pour in the beans and press the button. The blades will stop working when the button is released. The owner understands. He pours in the beans and presses the button. He and Noid watch. The coffee grinder works with a buzzing sound. The owner opens the lid. It is very convenient and even funny. Unlike a coffee grinder with a handle, everything happens very quickly here. The beans are ground even too finely. Zilk apologizes. There are no settings yet. He created it for quick preparation. The owner serves them coffee, apologizing for the grind. Zilk says that everything is fine. It was the first time he used one. He needs to get used to it. In a manual coffee grinder, the taste is more intense and the smell is aromatic. But here it turned out to be ordinary coffee. But if it were possible to drink it at home, Noid would not mind. But after trying the local coffee, you won't want to drink regular coffee all the time. You'll miss the taste and aroma. Noid agrees, even if you try hard, they won't be able to reveal the taste and aroma. Zilk asks the owner's opinion. He thinks that there is a problem with the shape of the blade. Rotating at such a speed generates heat. The taste and aroma deteriorate from this. The shape of the blade must be changed somehow. It would be nice to have replaceable blades of different shapes, so the blades could be adjusted to different varieties. Zilk writes everything down. It is useful information. He appreciates his attention. It would be nice if one useless woman took an example from the owner. Noid says that these are great grinders anyway. The owner agrees, especially the automatic one. It will be a big help on busy days. A manual coffee grinder is also better in some ways. The handle turns much easier, and it can be adjusted. This allows you to achieve the desired taste and aroma, and adjust to different varieties. One of Noid's acquaintances is a terrible connoisseur of coffee. Could Zilk sell him a coffee grinder? If he is satisfied with an unfinished version, then Zilk does not object. And what is the name of the acquaintance? Duke Albert Blend. Blend is one of the most influential and powerful families of the aristocracy. Zilk is not particularly interested in their patronage, but he does not mind if the grinders end up in the hands of a coffee lover. He gives Noid a business card to send a purchase order directly to his workshop. An excited Rudge burst into the workshop. They had received an order for some very big shots. Tristan is shocked. Who? Rudge is also surprised. She proudly shows a piece of paper. Duke Albert Bland. Tristan screams in shock. At this rate, even people above the Duke will take orders. Rudge supports. If they do a good job for the Duke, then the fame will grow even more. Besides, if he likes it, he can start ordering tools on an industrial scale. They will make new tools for him and repair old ones. Their income will just skyrocket. The workshop has a bright future, isn't it great? Zilk nods calmly. Great. Rudge whispers to Tristan that he's acting weird. Maybe he's sick. Tristan whispers back that he's acting normal, although he's not particularly excited that they've attracted the attention of the big shots. Zilk already knew about the order from Blend. There is a coffee grinder, Rudge confirms. Tristan asks how he already knew, and the order for the coffee grinder, which he made for himself. Zilk says it is not important, but Rudge interrupts him. It is an order from an influential aristocrat. Let him tell the whole background. Tristan is surprised. He didn't even know that he could be found in such places. Rudge too. Who would have thought that Zilk would use his walks to expand his business? Zilk wasn't planning to expand anything. He was just walking around the city and looking for a place to eat. Rudge believes him. The order includes 5 manual and 5 automatic coffee grinders, a good volume for a first order. If they manage to do it, they will definitely become famous in aristocratic circles. As Rudge said, you have to make a good impression to get a rich regular customer. Tristan asks Zilk to make the best coffee grinders. If he needs help, he will do his best. Zilk remembers that last week he called all this useless crap and urged him to do something else. Tristan laughs awkwardly. Doesn't everything Zilk makes bring in a handsome profit? Zilk would have made them anyway. 2 weeks later, everything is ready. Zilk took the advice of the coffee shop owner and changed the shape of the blades and used a different material. The blades have several interchangeable shapes. He tested the durability by making Tristan turn the grinder until his hand fell off. And then the finished product was sent to the coffee shop owner for testing and received approval. Rudge praises them. They did a good job. The grinders are assembled. The rest is on her. Rudge grabs his shoulder. What is he talking about? Isn't he going to give his product personally as the creator? Zilk asks what she's talking about. It's a simple request. Rudge grabs his face. She'll say it straight out. If she doesn't go, she'll be wasting her time as usual. Besides, how did he even get the idea not to give the order to the Duke personally? He was going to send her, a commoner, alone? Completely crazy? Zilk is in shock. Okay, he'll go with her. They are standing in front of an expensive building. After all, the Duke has a huge mansion. This is the main mansion. Its territory is much larger. Rudge asks, where even larger? At the entrance they are met by Noid. He greets Zilk, and Rudge hurries to introduce herself. She is an employee in his company, responsible for sales. Noid also introduces himself. He works as a butler for the Blade family. He asks them to follow him. He leads them to the living room, let them sit down. They brought the ordered coffee grinders. Noid asks them to wait here. Mr. Albert wanted to meet them personally. Noid will call him if they are not in a hurry. Zilk says they are in a hurry. Rudge hits him hard on the leg. Zilk was just joking. He wanted to meet him himself. Noid bows and asks them to wait a bit, thanking. Noid leaves. Rudge starts shouting. The master himself wanted to see Zilk, but he refuses. His head is completely empty. Zilk was joking. Rudge knows he is serious. Zilk asks her not to shout. Noid leaves, but there are other servants. They hear everything. Rudge goes quiet. Zilk really lied. They are greeted. Welcome. A man comes out to them, the head of the Blend family, Albert Blend. Zilk introduces herself and Rudge as her subordinate. Rudge bows. It is an honor for her. Albert thanks them for taking the time to talk to him. He is so happy that they were able to invent a tool that will allow him to make coffee at home. He wants to see for himself how it works. They won't drag it out. Rudge agrees and opens the box. Albert turns to Zilk. He heard that Zilk often goes to Rondel's coffee shop. Yes, Zilk often has breakfast and drinks coffee there. Both the coffee and the food there are very good, so Albert often goes there in his free time. But lately there has been too much work, so the coffee grinders are just in time. They are unlikely to beat Rondel's coffee, but Zilk guarantees good results. Each has its advantages and disadvantages, right? If Albert is going to drink coffee every day, he will use the automatic one more often. By the way, even Noid can't make coffee like Rondel. Noid says not to worry, he will learn from him soon, and then he will be able to die without regrets. Albert laughs, let him not talk nonsense. But sending him to Rondel's training is a great idea. Let him learn the techniques. He'll finish his training and become a real master bartender. Zilk corrects him. A bartender is a slightly different profession. Coffee masters are called baristas. Albert admires it, it's a cool name, he likes it. He needs a personal barista. Zilk also thinks that they need specialized schools. Albert is happy. They are on the same page. They are reminded that they are looking at coffee grinders. The rest will be discussed later. Albert generally understands the difference, but would like to compare the taste. That's what they thought. They have everything prepared. Rudge offers him to make coffee with his own hands. Albert is amazed. The way the coffee beans are ground. Very interesting. Whenever he watched Rondel cook, he always wanted to try to cook it himself. Noid watches him. Albert is delighted. You press the button and everything grinds itself. And very quickly, noticeably faster. Zilk and Rudge are happy. Coffee from a manual and coffee from an automatic. Albert tries it. He hasn't had coffee for a long time. And the fact that he made it himself makes it even better. He takes a sip from the automatic cup, not understanding why this one is better than his. Zilk and Noid turn away. It's not like he ground the beans incorrectly. Albert suggests buying both at once, so he can understand the advantages and disadvantages of each. Having the ability to drink coffee at home is wonderful. They have done a wonderful thing. He is very grateful. Zilk shakes his hand. Noid is discussing the purchase with Rudge. He turns to Zilk. Is he happy with the price? Isn't it too cheap? $80,000 for a manual and $300,000 for an automatic. Albert is shocked. It's cheaper than a regular magic lamp. Zilk didn't make a few zeros wrong somewhere. Zilk tries to convey the desire of a man who wants to develop coffee culture. Albert and Noid are surprised. If Zilk insists, they cannot refuse him. Tristan and Rudge can go home now. They've all been working overtime, making coffee grinders, they've been working, and they're as tired as Zilk, they need to rest. Tristan and Rudge are in shock. That's great. Rudge was just about to go out to dinner with her family. Tristan is jealous, he has nothing to do. Zilk says that it can't be helped, since he lives alone, and what's wrong with that? Tristan asks what he usually does. Zilk says that walking around the capital is refreshing, and Zilk goes to karaoke and bars and cooks something tasty at home. Tristan has a stone face. He goes after Rudge. And isn't Zilk lonely doing all this alone? Zilk smiles, that's the whole point. The city market has rows of vegetables and produce, all neatly laid out. People walk between the stalls, stopping at the vendors to choose their goods. Zilk approaches the fishmonger and stops at a large aquarium filled with water. Several people around him are also watching the fish, not taking their eyes off it. He looks at the aquarium up close, watching the jellyfish and fish swimming past the glass. His face is reflected in the water, expressing concentration and interest. His mind conjures up possible dishes that could be made from what he saw. He imagines fish with salt, teriyaki, and vegetable soup seasoned with herbs. Moving away from the counter, he continues his way through the market, unhurriedly. His steps are calm, his attention glides over the people around him and the goods displayed in the windows. Among the crowd, he notices familiar faces. Eita and Mariella standing nearby. They stand out from the crowd with their bright clothes. Both look cheerful and carefree, as if they are discussing something personal. Their faces are lit up with smiles. Zilk stops and looks at them, his face calm, his gaze observant. Nearby, one of the merchants loudly offers fresh dragon meat. He claims that the shipment has just arrived and beckons customers with confident gestures. A look of surprise appears on Zilka's face, which is difficult to hide. He approaches the counter and notices a large piece of meat, and next to the product hangs a very expensive price tag. Zilk remembers eating this dish as a child on his birthday, sitting at the festive table. There is a plate with meat and garnish in front of him, and he looks at it with a surprise and interest. He recalls the taste of this meat, calling it absolutely unique and incomparable to anything. It seems to him that he ate meat prepared from dragon's fingers. He asks the merchant what part of the carcass the meat comes from. The merchant replies that it comes from the tail, since it is always moving and therefore especially juicy and fibrous. Zilk asks if it tastes better than the finger meat he ate as a child. The seller confidently confirms that finger meat is incomparable in taste and juiciness. Without hesitation, Zilk orders 600 grams of dragon meat. The people around him watch him in surprise, whispering among themselves. The seller starts preparing the order and assumes that it is a gift for his wife or child for their birthday. He is sure that the purchase will be liked and appreciated. Zilk says he's not married. The seller wonders who the delicacy is intended for. He answers with a smile that he is buying the meat for himself and will eat it alone, without company. The crowd around Zilka freezes in awkward regret. Several people exchange glances and fall silent. The guy is confused whether this is good or bad, trying to catch the mood. The merchant, looking a little awkward, smiles and assures him that everything is fine, thanks him again. Zilk returns home with his shopping, carrying a bag in his hand. At the entrance, Katerina meets him with a bag in her hands and asks in surprise if he went shopping. He confirms and specifies that she, too, has returned from the store. The girl says that she bought everything at a discount, pleased with her finds. Zilk looks at her purchases and wonders to himself what he can make from it. They climb the stairs, heading in the same direction, step by step. Zilk notices this, but does not comment on what is happening. He thinks about how strange things have been between them lately. If they didn't know each other, he would have just walked past and not noticed. Zilka's memory flashes back to the music speaker that stood by the window. He recalls the sound it made. The young man remembers an audio recording with a story told by a certain Selba. He continues to be bothered by the fact that he did not listen to it to the end, and the plot remained unfinished. The girl asks if he bought meat and wants to know what kind he chose. Her voice sounds slightly surprised. Zilk replies that it is dragon meat and looks at her. She is surprised and asks if she heard right, raising her eyebrows. Katerina asks if it's his birthday, looking at him intently. He denies it and says that his friends and relatives don't have a holiday either. He explains that he simply finished work and decided to treat himself. It was his personal gesture. She asks him not to look at her like that, feeling slightly embarrassed. He replies that everyone is free to eat what they want, adding that it is his choice. Zilk walks down the hallway next to Katerina, carrying her groceries. They both carry bags and continue their conversation as they walk, not slowing down. A girl with a smile talks about the popularity of a new song and the difficulties of getting tickets to a concert. The background shows musicians on stage in bright lighting. The young man notes that this is indeed a problem that many people face. His companion confirms this with a hint of annoyance in her voice. Katerina hands the guy a ticket to the front row, offering him to take it without hesitation. Her gesture looks confident. He looks at the ticket in surprise and asks about the price, not knowing how to react to this. Katerina waves it off, explaining that she got the ticket for free. The guy decides to accept it, nodding in response. The girl points her finger at the guy, putting forward a counter condition without losing her cheerful tone. She asks for help with a new composition. Zilk, opening the door opposite, agrees and enters first. Night falls. The building's facade is illuminated by the moon and the windows, in which the light is burning, reflecting on the pavement. Zilk looks at the massive piece of marbled meat lying on the parchment in front of him, his face focused and serious. The man carefully cuts it with a knife, taking his time. First, you need to bring the steak to room temperature to keep it juicy. Zilk began cutting vegetables, carrots, asparagus, and broccoli, which will be used as a side dish. Everything was prepared in advance. He seasons the steak by sprinkling it with a mixture of 3 types of pepper. The meat is evenly coated with spices on both sides. A very expensive frying pan made of Orc King steel, bought in the capital, is heating up on the burner. Its surface is shining from the heat. The meat is placed on a hot surface. You can see the fumes and traces of contact with the hot frying pan, which are accompanied by a hissing sound. A guy sears a steak using 2 spatulas to avoid damaging the structure. He flips the piece to ensure even cooking. The meat is moved to another part of the pan, where the temperature is slightly lower. The previous frying zone left a greasy mark. The vegetables, previously chopped, are thrown into the pan in the remaining meat juice with the addition of oil and garlic. They begin to fry. Zilk lightly sears the steak on both sides, achieving a crust. Nearby, the vegetables are also cooked, exuding aroma. Both halves of the meat are lying in the pan. Steam is rising from them. The steak is almost ready to serve. Zilk uses chopsticks to carefully transfer the asparagus onto a plate, ensuring that it is served symmetrically. The preparation is complete. A huge dragon rises above the plate with fried meat and garnish, as if guarding the food. A guy stands in front of a rack of bottles and chooses a drink, remembering that red wine goes well with steak. He realizes with annoyance that the red wine is gone and he will have to choose a replacement. In his imagination, he remembers himself at the table, finishing his wine, while in reality he clutches his head, mentally cursing his forgetfulness. Continuing to ponder, the young man takes out a bottle and notes that, although the drink is not the best, it is quite suitable for dinner. A young man is delighted to have purchased a large bowl, while pouring champagne into a glass and anticipating the taste. Before the meal begins, he folds his hands, wishing himself a pleasant meal, sitting at a set table with a glass and a bottle of wine. The boy tastes the prepared dish with delight. He eats the meat and notices with surprise that the tail part is especially tasty and soft. Zilk remembers the seller's words about the dragon's tail constantly moving, so the tail meat is juicy and contains almost no fat. Zilk takes a sip from the glass and enjoys the taste, closing his eyes. He sits at the table, spearing food with a fork, and continues eating. He notes that today is not a holiday, but there is still a reason. The fork is stuck into another piece of dragon meat, and the juice flows out onto the plate. He continues to eat and drink wine, immersing himself in the atmosphere of comfort. Zilk holds the glass in his hand, feeling all the accumulated stress and tension melt away. Against the backdrop of the evening sky, a man in a long cloak approached the door of a large house. Rudge tells Zilk about a relative's visit. The guy sits at the table and raises his head in surprise, perplexed. He jumps up from his seat with a frightened expression. His body is tense. His face is filled with anxiety and distrust. Zilk introduces his sister. He looks out the door warily, listening for footsteps. Ludwig greets him. Zilk freezes in shock, not expecting to see him. Glasses says hello. Rudge and Zilk continue to look at him in shock, not believing their eyes. Zilk skeptically remarks that this is not his relative, and slams the door in his face in irritation. Ludwig bursts into the room and shouts indignantly at the entrance, waving his arms. The blonde calls Zilka brother. This address irritates and infuriates him. Ludwig is surprised that he introduced him to Ilya himself, and now he hates him. Zilk regrets his decision, looking away. They simultaneously turn to look at another guest standing in the doorway. Zilk, stone-faced, listens to the screams of Tristan as he enters. He panics and asks to be introduced to someone who is not an aristocrat, but is reliable. Zilka remembers Katerina, but she is an aristocrat and does not fit the request. Tristan is annoyed to hear that there is no suitable girl for him, and throws up his hands. He is sure that these handsome guys are obliged to have female acquaintances, and he insists. He claims that with a good position and appearance, you can interest several girls at once without making any effort. Ludwig imagines girls hitting on Zilk. He continues that the brunette is outwardly attractive, smart, and rich, but his inner world changes everything and repels him. Zilk says that women prevent him from enjoying life. Tristan is surprised. He switches to Ludwig with the same request, but he is married and does not communicate with girls anymore, so as not to cause problems. Zilk notices that there are women at work and asks if Ludwig thinks they are suitable. Tristan is shocked by what he hears and frowns. All the workshop employees are either too young or already married, which reduces the chances to zero. Ludwig explains that these women are alchemists, earn good money, and are popular with clients. Tristan begs Rudge to help him, but she is surrounded by mothers and children. Zilk compares the situation to his homeworld, where money and appearance are valued above all else. Zilk asks why Ludwig came. He replies that he came on business and would like to discuss everything. Glasses asks if Zilk is free after work. He suggests having a drink together somewhere quiet. The brunette has figured out Ludwig's idea to leave his family to have a drink. Ludwig asks to show him a nice place where he can relax. Zilk pushes Ludwig's hand away, saying that after business is done, he will spend time with him. Rudge consoles Tristan, saying that one day he too will find a good girl. He just needs to wait. The full moon shines brightly in the night sky, covered by rare clouds, creating a mysterious mood. Zilk and Ludwig walk through the city at night and talk about life slowly. The bespectacled man says that his wife asks him to come home early to spend time with her. Before marriage, you could go out for a drink at any time. This story once again convinces Zilka that it is not worth getting married and losing your freedom. The brunette talks about the lack of commitment if you're not married and values independence. Ludwig replies that there are good things in marriage too, time with family, care, and warmth. Zilk reminds him that he is not with his family now. Glasses replies that he just needs a break from everyday life. Ludwig is furious that Zilk has cornered him with his thoughts on marriage. But they are already there, and it is time to go in. Zilk and Ludwig approached the door. They rang the bell and entered the room, looking around. Behind the counter stands a tall woman with elf ears. Zilk invites his friend to come and sit next to him, pointing to an empty chair. The elf hands Ludwig a towel, maintaining a polite expression on her face. He thanks him politely, nodding slightly in acknowledgement. Both men sit at the counter, looking around, and the waitress of the establishment moves away into the depths of the room, slowly. Ludwig pats Zilka on the shoulder, beaming with delight, and reproachfully asks why he wasn't told about the bar earlier, because the place is impressive. Zilk explains that he brought him here for the sake of drinking and advises him to appreciate the local alcohol, especially the strong liqueurs. Ludwig raves about the cocktail's taste, claiming that he has never tasted such a refreshing drink. Zilk simply agrees, without going into further conversation. The blonde watches the magic in surprise, and the elf parries with concentration, keeping the ice fragments in the air under control. Ludwig introduces himself and wants to know the barmaid's name, trying to be polite. Zilk confesses that he himself does not know the girl, which surprises his friend. The girl introduces herself as Alessi. Ludwig likes the name and smiles. The elf asked the brunette's name. She was embarrassed, but he introduced himself. The atmosphere became a little warmer. Alessi assumed that he was the same magician who invented the refrigerator, and she was right. Zilk replied that he did it for his own comfort, and internally noted that for the first time he saw emotion on her face. Zilk looked closely at his friends, assessing their reaction. She noticed that the men did not look alike, although they had the same last name. This surprised her a little. The brunette explained that the second one was his sister's husband, while simultaneously delivering an insult. The bespectacled man was indignant, not expecting such a tone. The black-haired boy thought. Ludwig said that Zilk is the eldest son and does not want to get married, shifting responsibility to the younger members of the family, avoiding obligations. The brunette internally noted that, despite her restraint, Alessi was good at keeping up a conversation and sensed the mood. The doorbell rang. The door opened, letting fresh air into the room. A oit appeared on the threshold with a sword, exclaiming in surprise that he did not expect to meet Zilk here. He emphasizes that he did not intend to return to this place again. Ludwig, looking at the blonde, asks if the black-haired man knows him personally. All three sit at the counter, assessing each other. 8 introduces himself happily, calling himself Zilk's friend. He remains silent with a neutral expression, then 8 grabs him by the hair, remembering their shared coffee and spiritual connection. The blonde notices that the other remains cold and dry. Zilk suggests that they be considered just acquaintances. Then they discuss which of them is more familiar, and eats other people's food without asking. Ludwig called out to Zilka, trying to interrupt the awkward conversation. The bespectacled man is shocked to learn that his interlocutor has friends. This destroys his ideas. The barmaid asks for an order. 8 asks for a gin and tonic. Zilk angrily yells at Ludwig, accusing him of thinking of him as a loser with no friends or social connections. The brunette asks where Mariella is. He remembers seeing them together at the market and wondering. 3 men are sitting at the bar, exchanging phrases and assessing the situation. Ludwig comments with a smile that his interlocutor spends a lot of time with a girl. He finds it suspicious. Zilk notes that 8 has become calmer. This makes him a little happy. Isekai'd tries to find out from Zilk what he said to Mariella recently. He clarifies that her behavior has changed since that day. It has become more comfortable with her because she behaves more simply and naturally than before. The dark-haired man smiles slightly and says that it is good. He holds a glass in his hand, slowly taking a sip. Ice asks in surprise if Zilk is doing another brainwashing like before. The brunette explains that he only advised the girl to stay away from bachelors without going into details. He thinks that Mariella is a good girl because she followed his advice without doubting it. Eat thanks. The bespectacled man asks if the fair-haired man is thinking about marriage, which irritates Zilka. The blonde man, looking forward with a slight smile, says that the idea of marriage sounds good and interests him. Zilk chokes on his drink. Ludwig and the girl at the counter watch him in surprise and don't understand what happened. The dark-haired man with a dumbfounded face is surprised by his friend's words about marriage. He notices internally that his new acquaintance has lost his way, because he remained a bachelor for a long time by his own choice. He assumes that his friend's head is overheated. He turns to Alessia and asks her for a calming drink. Alessia sighs heavily. The fair-haired man smiles slightly, the brunette is in shock, and the bespectacled man is deep in thought. There is a knock in the mansion, and Rudge invites you in, opening the massive door. Hearing Ita's name, Zilk looks up from his pen, tearing himself away from his papers. Rudge is surprised to recognize the guests and asks why they have come. Eth replies that he wants to talk to Zilk without any unnecessary witnesses. Rudge is shocked to hear that Eth knows Zilk. Her colleague is also amazed by this turn of events. But Rudge and her friend don't understand why Ait needed Zilk in particular. And that he even has friends seems strange. Having learned that Ait has come to them, Zilk tells them to tell them that he is not there. He does not want to talk. Eth is in shock. After all, Zilk is sitting right in front of him and he hears everything. Rudge reproaches him for his stupid joke, reminds him that he is a supplier of materials and he must be taken into account no matter what. Zilk suggests going into the living room and finding out what exactly the guests want to discuss. He is tired of the omissions. Mariella and Eth sit down and announce that they have decided to get married. Their faces are serious. Zilk, looking emotionless, congratulated the couple. Eth and Mariella were surprised by his indifference and lack of enthusiasm. The brunette guessed about their relationship after seeing them together at the market. Mariella blushes, looking down. Zilk clarifies that the decision was made hastily. Mariella laughs, calling Eth a comrade in arms, remembering him riding the beast that day. Zilk reproaches Mariella for not knowing how to get closer to Eth. She panics and asks him not to bring up the topic and looks away in embarrassment. The aristocrat notes that they really do work as a couple of adventurers and they are closer than they seem at first glance. Ait invites Zilk to the wedding. He refuses without hesitation, not hiding his reluctance. Zilk asks in surprise why they need him at the wedding at all. Mariella reacts in shock. Eth looks at him in bewilderment. Zilk remembers that he and Ait are not that close, just acquaintances. And he gave Mariella advice once and does not consider it friendship. It says outright that although Zilk considers them just acquaintances, he considers him a friend and doesn't see a problem with that. In another memory, during a feast, Eth says that there are few bachelors like them. He considered Zilk a kindred spirit and remembered that conversation. Eth sees nothing unusual in inviting a soulmate to a wedding. Zilk is puzzled and doesn't know what to answer. Zilk discusses how he and Ait are different from others who value family values and traditional roles. He is sure that society does not understand them. Only one bachelor can understand another in such matters. Eth and Zilk look at each other. Eth is slightly upset. Zilk holds his hand to his mouth thoughtfully, not answering. The groom asks the bachelor if he really doesn't want to come to the wedding that much and can't make an exception. Zilk replies that he prefers the life of a bachelor and believes that he has no place at the wedding because it contradicts his views and principles. The girl laughs. Isekai'd sits next to her. Zilk looks at Isekai'd and Mariella in surprise, not understanding their ease. She says that ordinary people don't think about such strange things. Zilk wonders how this is possible. Mariella says that she likes Zilk's sincerity and straightforwardness, despite his stern character. Isekai'd smiles and says that no matter what, they want Zilk to come to the wedding. He adds that the bachelor can come if he changes his mind. The door closes behind the boys. Zilk is sitting at the table. There is an invitation in front of him. He takes it in his hand and looks at it thoughtfully. Zilk holds the letter and puts his palm to his forehead, clearly lost in thought. Meanwhile, Rudge and his friend are happy, and the bachelor is surprised. She shows the envelope and says that she will go because they work together. Zilka is asked if he is going to go. He replies that he has not decided yet, without giving a clear answer. Rudge is not surprised. She says that there is no big problem in this, the main thing is sincerity. She explains that the invitation does not oblige you to anything. A few congratulatory words will be enough to express respect. Colleagues continue to persuade, hoping to convince the stubborn person. Zilk hesitates, but does not give a definite answer, hiding his doubts. The envelope with the invitation remains lying on the drawing. In Zilka's thoughts, there is an alarm that something is wrong with this, and it does not give him peace. Zilk regretfully reflects that he would like to congratulate Mariella and Isekai'd, but the feeling that he does not belong there does not go away. Zilk suddenly remembers that he didn't tell them that the coffee grinders were ready for them, and stands in front of the machine, lost in thought. He approaches a luxurious house and enters, holding the door by the handle. Katerina is surprised by his arrival, as she did not expect a visit. But then she remembers that he promised to help her and invites her for a walk. She insists, and Zilk is hesitant at first. She happily decides everything for him and leaves, promising to meet at the coffee shop, and he looks after her in confusion. Zilk approaches the window of the coffee shop and notices how she is already sitting at a table and waiting for him impatiently. Katerina takes a sip of coffee and adds sugar when no one is looking. But she notices a bachelor outside the window. She reproaches him for watching her through the window instead of coming in. The girl gets down to business. Zilk asks what composition she wants, taking out a notebook. Katerina replies that she likes love songs. Zilk is a little embarrassed, but doesn't show it. They sit at a table in a cafe and start playing music. The instruments are next to each other. He sings, she listens with interest, and writes down what she hears with a pen. She abruptly stops his singing. He is surprised, not understanding the reason. Katerina notices that he is acting strangely today. It is felt from the first notes. She says she usually feels warmth and strength in his voice, but now it sounds unstable and even the rhythm is off. Zilk explains that he has too much on his mind and apologizes. Katerina is surprised to note that this is the first time she has heard him apologize, and he calls her rude. The girl suggests that he explain himself if he really wants to get rid of the tension. She doesn't promise to help, but it will get easier. Zilk looks at her and notes that he doesn't like her like this either. Katerina suggests simply letting Isekai'd go, so as not to hold a grudge. She talks about how she wishes for every friend of hers who gets married to die happy with her husband. Katerina looks angry. Zilk wonders why she goes to weddings then. She explains that it's for the sake of friendship, but she won't pretend to be pleased. Katerina suggests that Zilk doesn't like to pretend either. He nods in agreement. The bachelor recalls his past life and a friend's wedding, where he pretended to hide his irritation. He feels disgusted to congratulate him on something he himself denies, but he doesn't want to upset Isekai'd. Katerina suggests replacing the greeting with a bright gift. Zilk considers it, but the girl reminds him not to give money. It's boring. He says that since he is an inventor, let him invent something that will make them happy and be remembered for a long time. The bachelor is considering whether to give a magic instrument or coffee grinders, of which he has several in stock. Then it dawned on him. He came up with a gift that would be perfect for the occasion. As sad as it is to marry a friend, Zilk decides to do so. He acknowledges the right to choose. In the end, it is Ike's own choice, not his personal business. Zilk apologizes that he can't continue helping with the song now. Katerina accepts the apology and nods. Zilk sat in the carriage and watched from the window as the horses carried him to the wedding. It was too late to turn around. The carriage door was open for him. He immediately met his friends at the entrance to the building. Rudge and Tristan looked at each other, surprised by the pretentiousness of Zilk's outfit. He explained that he was wearing a normal casual suit, but his appearance always made him look impressive. Tristan confirmed that if there was no groom, the attention would go to Zilk. Rudge demanded that he not attend Tristan's wedding if he wanted to maintain good relations, and Zilk reluctantly agreed, but noted that he was being treated unfairly. They arrived at a large Gothic cathedral, where preparations for the ceremony had already begun, and guests with gifts had gathered inside. The woman was surprised to see that the cathedral was fully rented and explained that 8 was an A-rank adventurer. Money was not a problem for him. Zilk was surprised by such a high rank. Tristan asked why Zilk didn't know about the rank. The bachelor replied that he usually acts alone, as he gets in the way of others during missions. As the three walked down the hallway, Rudge noted that Zilk was an inventor and a B-rank adventurer, but there was something distinctly off about him. The man agreed with her, nodding. On the wall of the temple hung an image of the goddess Lastiara, who is considered the patroness of love and creativity in this kingdom. But the true ruler of this world is a mysterious man in a cloak whose essence is unknown. A bachelor discusses how a man made an image of God for profit, wondering how God can rule the world if people know nothing about him. His name is Zilka. Rudge, Zilk, and Tristan enter the cathedral. The hall is filled with guests seated, waiting for the ceremony. The bachelor quips that the world is ruled by the god of loneliness, and everyone worships the goddess of love. The groom enters the hall to the applause of the guests. They look at him with surprise and admiration, discussing his appearance. Rudge is delighted that the groom looks great in his suit. Tristan agrees, adding that they were afraid that Zilk would outshine him, but he actually surpassed him. 8 greets Zilk with a cheerful thumbs up and a wide smile. He smiles back, reservedly. The groom stands at the altar. The priest prepares to begin the ceremony. The atmosphere becomes increasingly solemn and tense. The bride appears in the hall. She walks down the aisle with a slight smile, in a white dress and veil, causing a stormy reaction among the guests. The guests applaud. The bride waves her hand, and the hall is filled with enthusiastic exclamations and shouts of approval. Rudge looks at the bride in admiration. Zilk is amazed by her beauty. He admits that he has never seen her in a dress, only in adventurer's clothes, and is amazed by her appearance. The priest reads from a book on the altar. The bride and groom sign the marriage document. An inkwell and pen stand nearby. The groom carefully lifts the veil. Underneath is the smiling face of the bride, looking straight ahead. The bride and groom kiss in front of the altar. Petals fly around, and in the background are the high windows of the church. Zilk watches them with restraint. The newlyweds walk out into the rain of petals, not hiding their emotions. Outside, in front of the cathedral, guests are celebrating, and shouts of joy are heard. Garlands are hung above the building, and the scene takes place during the day. The trio sits at the banquet table. Tristan wonders what to do next, looking at the others. Rudge says that while the bride and groom are busy, they can eat and chat. The rest sit at the tables and chat among themselves. The girl gives the guys the command to rest, but then to return to the table, and in the meantime she will go pester the adventurers. Tristan and Zilk are discussing Rudge with fear. The girl is determined and is not going to stop. The bachelor asks not to bring up business topics. The girl answers with a smile that she understands and will not do it again. Tristan notes that there are many people around the newlyweds. Zilk takes a napkin and is about to begin the meal. On the plate lies an appetizing dish of fried general crab. The guest admires its appearance. The blonde is surprised at how delicious this dish can be. The other explains that it is the meat of a rare Class A monster, which is rarely found even in the best restaurants. The boys start eating the crab. One of them lifts his fork to his mouth with delight, while the other one tries the dish with interest. The internal monologue describes the rich taste of crab meat, which is unlike any other. The illustration of the samurai crab emphasizes the uniqueness of the dish. Tristan agrees how delicious the food is. The bachelor with the glass says the taste of the crab is the only thing he doesn't regret visiting. 2 women approach the guys at the table and ask if they can sit down. The men look surprised and exchange glances. The women introduce themselves. One says her name is Fliera, the other is Bells. They say they are Mariella's friends and have also come to the party. Bells flirts by calling the guy handsome and asks him to introduce himself. Fleera comments that he is even more attractive than 8 and smiles. Tristan stands up and politely introduces himself. Fleera replies that she understands, and now it's the second guy's turn to say his name, looking at Zilk. Zilk introduces himself. His voice sounds calm and reserved. The girls are amazed. One exclaims that he is an aristocrat, and the other that he is the very inventor that everyone is talking about. Both ask Zilka to tell them about his work, expressing sincere interest. He sighs inwardly, expecting this with displeasure. Zilk thinks that he would like to drive them away, but does not want to ruin the atmosphere of the wedding and spoil the holiday. He smiles as he prepares to answer, trying to remain polite. The girls admire him. One says he is a genius. Another asks whether he designed the refrigerator himself or someone helped him. Zilk sits at the table surrounded by girls, of whom there are now even more. They listen with interest. He irritably thinks that he wants to run away home with the crab general and forget about everything. The bride and groom approach and ask permission to talk to Zilk. He stands up, giving up his seat. The groom notes that the bachelor is popular, but this does not please either of them at all. It is visible on their faces. The bachelor is reproached by the bachelor for not even trying to be friendly. He is surprised and does not understand what is being talked about. After all, he tried. In a flashback, the girl explains that they decided to intervene. Zilk regretfully says that they could have stayed away. Then, a late guest appears at their table. Rudge is surprised that the others are already sitting at their table. The groom smiles at her, explaining that they just decided to come early and sit with them. The girl and Tristan congratulate the newlyweds on their wedding and say that they look great together, like a real couple. Eth and Mariella thank them for their congratulations. They smile and look happy, holding hands. Eth and Mariella happily accept Zilk's congratulations and thank him. Eth says he is happy to hear that and winks. Zilk receives a thank you for coming and reaches into his inside jacket pocket, keeping his face serious. He says that he has a gift for Isekai'd and Mariella, if they don't mind. The newlyweds look at him in surprise, not expecting any surprises. Eth and Mariella look at each other with interest, not knowing what to expect from the gift. They smile. Eth excitedly says that he can't wait to see what they're getting. He beams with anticipation as Zilk hands over a small box. He opens a gift box containing jewelry. A pair of thin rings sparkle inside. Inside are a pair of thin rings with stones. Eth looks at them and asks if they are rings, frowning slightly. They look at the rings in surprise. The black-haired guy confirms that these are wedding rings, specially made. 2 rings with thin frames and inlays. Zilk says it is a symbol of an unbreakable bond, which he created. All those present look at the presented rings with surprise. Some whisper to each other. The guy explains that this is a magical item. It protects against monster attacks, acting as an amulet. Zilk remembers that in this world, vows are the only means of securing a marriage, and so he came up with the idea of giving rings. The girl looks at the gift with admiration. The blonde guy asks if such a gift is too valuable. The guy confirms that he is ready to give it without regret. He says that the ring should be worn on the ring finger of the left hand, giving a detailed explanation of its design. He then adds that it might just be more comfortable to wear than other jewelry. Mariella turns to 8 and looks into his eyes. She suggests exchanging rings, looking at the groom with a slight smile. He agrees and supports her idea, extending his hand. The girl is nervous before putting on the ring, covering her mouth with her hand. The newlyweds carefully put the rings on each other. The guests watch the ceremony, and the couple continues to exchange rings. The atmosphere becomes especially touching. Eth and Mariella admire how perfectly the rings fit. The groom assumes that the sizes were measured in advance and accurately. The guests applaud, expressing joy and approval. The newlyweds are surprised by the attention and a little embarrassed. They look back at the guests. Everyone looks pleased and smiles back. The newlyweds call the rings the best gift. They thank the inventor. Zilk says with a serious expression that there is a spell on Isekai'd's ring. He claims that Mariella will be able to track his location, but admits that he is joking. The groom reacted to Zilka's words in panic, and the bride suspiciously asks if he is hiding something. The guy quickly justifies himself, assuring that he has no one. Rudge says, disappointed, that she was wrong to think that Zilk had done anything good. He had ruined everything again. The guy next to her frowns and says that he has changed his mind about Zilk. The girl is sure that the rings will be popular. The merchant in her has awakened, and she is already counting the profit. Tristan overhears two girls wanting the same ones. Their conversation can be heard over the general hubbub. Zilk warns that talk about work will start now, and Rudge asks if he himself has decided to get married. After all, there are rings. Zilk is sure in his mind that being reborn in another world will not change his beliefs. He remains the same. He wants to remain a lone wolf. He adds that this will not change anything, and will live as he is accustomed to. Etienne and Mariella, holding hands, smile at each other sincerely, looking happy. Zilk answers Rudge's question with a confident denial. He doesn't hesitate for a second. The bachelor is home again. He is drying fruit on the drying rack by the window. The dryer is filled with fruits. Zilk likes it. He watches the process. The lid of the dehydrator lifts to reveal a row of citrus slices, laid out evenly. Zilk tries a piece of dried fruit and says that the taste is amazing, but it is a little short of perfect dryness. He calls the device a new magical instrument created by him personally. In one shot, the stove is turned on. In others, the fruit is already laid out on plates. In the lower corner, a hand is breaking an egg into a bowl. Eggs are fried in a frying pan. A golden crust forms on the surface. Tomatoes are being cut on a cutting board, and next to it there is a bowl of salad in which the leaves are already mixed. Zilk puts dried fruit in a glass and pours yogurt over it. Everything looks neat and appetizing. Breakfast is served on the table. 2 eggs, toast, salad, yogurt with fruit, and a cup of coffee. The dishes are arranged symmetrically. Zilk eats toast and yogurt with fruit. He is focused on the taste. Noodle and coffee are on the table. The drink is hot, steam is rising from it. Panorama of a house with balconies. Birds are flying in the sky and the day looks sunny. Zilk is walking down the stairs with his briefcase in his hand and notices something to his left. He stops for a moment. He approaches mailbox number 304, where a letter is sticking out. The envelope is slightly crumpled. Noticing a letter with his family's coat of arms, he is surprised and takes it carefully. He reads the letter. His facial expression changes to displeased. He irritably remarks that he is being invited to a family dinner again, although he was there 3 months ago. This is happening too often. In the office, Tristan offers Zilk coffee, who asks for an automatic one. He is not in the mood to make it manually. The blonde asks if he likes his coffee. Zilk replies that it's terrible. Tristan mentally decides to make coffee by hand to change his mind. Rudge, with a box of papers in his hands, says that he has finally arrived. The papers are almost falling out. Zilk calmly replies that he always comes at this time. He does not understand the surprise. The girl shows a stack of letters, saying that there have been many orders for wedding rings. She is excited. He wonders why there are so many of them. This arouses suspicion. The girl explains that it is wonderful and romantic, but Zilk is not happy with such excitement. Tristan and Rudge scold him. He listens in silence. Pointing her finger at Zilk, the girl exclaims that they need a wedding ring production, and as soon as possible. The bachelor does not agree, but Rudge makes arguments appealing to popularity. The guy is annoyed, saying that he doesn't like doing things he doesn't like. She smiles slyly in response, anticipating victory. The girl whispers to him that no materials for magic are used in production. He froze with a surprised and tense face. She excitedly continues to explain that the rings have attracted the interest of high-level adventurers, and that they are cheap to produce, making them a great opportunity for a workshop. It is explained that creating high-quality magic items requires rare materials that are usually only collected by high-ranking adventurers. The guy understands that by establishing connections with such adventurers, he will be able to make more different magical artifacts, including other products. Zilk agrees, his expression still reserved. A large mansion with closed gates is shown. From inside the house comes Zilka's exclamation, "You can always rely on him." Inside the house, there is a long table where the family members have gathered. 3 are already seated, the rest are approaching their places. Relatives are surprised by Zilk's appearance. He appears rarely. At the door of the house, The girl says in surprise that she did not expect him to come. The man with the mustache says that he volunteered and did not complain while he was walking. Zilk warns his relatives not to make such faces, otherwise he will not come again. His tone is categorical. His mother scolds him for his rare visits, and Ludwig reassures her by asking her to give him the floor. They fall silent. At this moment, one of the relatives calls the aristocrat. Art appears with his wife and the baby in her arms. Everyone looks over. They greet each other, and Zilk tries to remember the name of Art's wife. He's not sure. He remembered that her name was Fibel. It was connected with something familiar. The sister is indignant that Zilk has forgotten his name. She asks him to remember his last name, as it seems to be connected to a family of inventors. They decided that the last name was not important. The bachelor switched his attention to the child and his behavior. I asked what the baby's name was. Fibel replied that his name was Abel. Zilk saw his brother's wife only 3 times. They had no time to talk or establish contact. The aristocrat's sister said that Fibel's last name was Tist. While Ludwig was being affectionate with his daughter, the girl was admonishing her brother. The mother of the family sighed skeptically, not hiding her fatigue from the arguments. She stated that 2 children have already given her grandchildren, and she is expecting a 3rd one, hinting. Sparks flew between the son and mother. He stood by his convictions, and she didn't care. "You're already 28, the mother screamed, and the clock has been ticking for a long time. But Zilk parried. Zilk asked why she needed more grandchildren. The mother replied that he was the eldest son and that he was responsible. There was an awkward pause and the room became quiet. The relatives eased the tension by inviting everyone to dinner. The servants had already set the table. While Ludwig was having fun with his daughter, the butler was called to serve dinner. The butler entered the hall. The whole family sat down at the table, discussing everyday affairs. The sister suspected something was wrong, because Zilk came without being persuaded. The mother assumed that he had something planned, as usual. The woman guessed correctly that the visit was work-related. She felt it right away. The sister asked what he wanted. Suspicion was already in her voice, and I myself guessed that it was connected with the rings that everyone is talking about now. Ludwig decided that since Zilk was at someone else's wedding, he became closer to his own. The bachelor decided to hand over the ring production to his family, but not to all of them. The sister got angry because they didn't have a workshop. The brother continued to say that he doesn't do jewelry, only magic. The brothers asked to see a sample of the ring. They stared at the decoration, examining it carefully. He asked if they could help him. He knew the answer in advance. Ludwig is busy with other projects and can't help. My sister is busy teaching at the academy, so she refused. Art also cited a lot of work. His schedule is overloaded. Zilk thought that this was a problem because help was still needed. Suddenly, a raised hand appeared. Fibel volunteered to try, despite the surprise. All the relatives froze in surprise. This decision surprised everyone. Her sister reminded her of the small child. But Fibel replied that the child would not interfere and she would manage. She always wanted to try. And Zilk almost left the production to her, but Art interrupted him, worried about it. He was given a condition to show up at a family party in a week. No exceptions. Zilk didn't understand why. Leonard had insisted on it, and it was impossible to refuse. The bachelor remembered Leonard and cursed mentally, not hiding his irritation. He was reminded that he has fans. The image needs to be maintained. Zilk asked if there were any other conditions. He wanted to know everything at once. Mom and sister suggested replacing the family party with a bride show. The bachelor, horrified, agreed to go to the Aquinas family. Everyone is smiling. Only the aristocrat is displeased. He does not hide his irritation. At home, they are interested in what is going on with the production of rings. The question is asked immediately after returning. Zilk says he entrusted the production to Art's wife. He admits this reluctantly. Rudge praises the young mother's enthusiasm. She works with the family often, which builds trust. The girl approves of the choice. Zilk is unhappy with the terms of the business transfer because he was forced. He thinks he is being used. Rudge reminds that he himself is using his family, only in his own way. Tristan is the most excited about the party. He is clearly looking forward to the event. He imagines beautiful women and delicious treats, enjoying his thoughts. It's a dream for him. Zilk assures that aristocratic parties are not good. There's nothing to talk about. There, no one says anything good. They evaluate everything and throw mud at you. Zilk says that women there complain about their husbands, all the ladies are spoiled. Tristan asks Rudge to confirm, hoping that this is an exaggeration. She confirms that such a thing exists. We are talking about many noble families. The Bachelor continues to tell horror stories about the world of aristocrats. Tristan does not want such a reality, he is afraid. Zilk and Rudge return to their work. The blonde continued to cry, unable to calm down. An aristocrat tries on a suit for a party. He is glad that he has not gained weight, although the suit is old and tight. The carriage arrives at the mansion. The butler greets the guests at the gate. They go inside. Zilk says he had trouble getting into the suit, but it's not because he's fat. Butler assures him he understands, nodding. Art, Fievel, and Ilya are sitting in the carriage. They are talking, looking out the window. Art says he hasn't seen Zilk in this suit for a long time, and it suits him very well. He is embarrassed, but glad that he looks good. The guests arrive at the Aquinas family party. Zilk says he's not surprised. With a family like that, the party is really crowded, like a ball. The Bachelor feels like he's in a circus, looking at other people's costumes. His sister agrees with a snort. The reception hall is full. The light from the chandeliers is reflected on the mirrors. The tables are set with food. Appetizers, desserts, and drinks are visible. Musicians play on stage, creating an atmosphere. At this time, the bartender makes cocktails at the counter. The four guests look around the room, assessing the decoration of the room. They enter the hall, attracting the attention of the guests in the hall. Zilk asks her sister what caused such a reaction. Some guests discuss Zilk's arrival. One of them recognizes him as the eldest son of the Lurin family, surprised by the visit. Ilya curiously asks when Zilk last appeared at such receptions. He replies that it was more than a year ago. A young man approaches them, joyfully recognizing Zilka as an old acquaintance, and smiling broadly. Leonard comments that Zilk's appearance is a talking point. The Bachelor is once again the center of attention. They exchange greetings. Leonard says that it has been a long time since they last met. Leonard complains that Zilk never showed up when he invited him. He recalls that they studied together, and now Leonard is the head of the family and the organizer of the ball. Zilk admits that he doesn't like crowded events. Leonard notes that the ball was not very large-scale due to the conference on magical artifacts. Zilk asks where Grease is. Leonard tells him that he found materials for a magic sword and couldn't come. Zilk fondly remembers that Grease is his close friend from the academy and nods understandingly. Grease is known as a talented blacksmith of magical weapons, respected in professional circles. Zilk can still picture Grease swinging one of his swords with gusto. Leonard praises Art for being able to persuade and bring Zilk to the appointment. Zilk admits he only came because Art was blackmailing him. Leonard calls it brotherly love. The girl asks Leonard if he and his brother are the same age, showing interest in their family. Leonard says that he always wanted to get married, unlike Zilka. The Bachelor is slightly irritated by his words. Zilk notes that Leonard is not interested in marrying women and clearly has other views. Leonard confirms that he is not interested in women. He adds that it is not necessary for children to get married. It turns out that Leonard adopted children from the orphanage to raise them as aristocrats. He states that his main hobbies now are work and watching girls. Leonard unexpectedly invites Ilichka to become a model for his brand, remembering how he dressed her before. Ilichka categorically refuses and hides behind Zilka. Leonard looks surprised and a little confused. At this time in the hall, a girl asks Zilk how he is doing. He replies that he is still creating magical instruments. Other guests suddenly intervene in the conversation, attracting the attention of those around them. Three girls stand up and ask permission to join the group, looking confident. Those present are a little embarrassed and look at each other, not knowing how to react. Leonard politely asks the girls' names, showing social courtesy. The girls take turns naming their names and noble titles, demonstrating their upbringing. The girl with the bun expresses her joy meeting Leonard and calls him a famous designer. The blonde says that she is buying all of Zilk's magical tools. He politely thanks her for her loyalty. Zilk considers whether he should emulate Leonard's outgoing personality, but decides it's not his style. He asks permission to ask a question. The girls nod, smiling with interest. Zilk reminds them that etiquette forbids short aristocrats from speaking first to high-ranking ones. He asks if they know about it. The three girls stand frozen in confusion, not knowing what to answer. He thinks they were just given a break because of their age. He expects them to apologize and leave. Sister Zilka explains that he most likely just made a too stern and frightening face. A group of people approach Leonard and ask for forgiveness for the girl's behavior, causing them to smile. Leonard suggests that the girls take a little rest because they look confused and tense. The company leaves the stage. Zilk explains that he wanted to be polite, but apparently failed. Leonard notices that the bachelor hasn't changed a bit over the years. Feibel watches sympathetically. The girls discuss Zilk, considering him lonely and strange, although attractive. The man tries to joke, claiming that he understands women well. The girls respond to him with sarcasm. The guests sat at round tables, discussing what was happening. Among them were Zilk and Leonard. Zilk wonders why the focus is on him and not Leonard, despite his fame. Leonard reminds that he has never seen Zilk in a relationship. The bachelor confirms that he prefers to be alone. Zilk admits that she doesn't want marriage or children, because it creates unnecessary obligations. He prefers freedom and solitude, wanting to enjoy life at his own pace. Leonard agrees, saying that being alone is the path to personal happiness. Both are convinced that there will be no wedding. Zilk asks how Leonard is doing with work. He assures him that everything is fine, and has even gotten better lately. Leo talks about the success of his store and the growth in customers in recent months. The blonde says he has lost his inspiration and urgently needs a muse. The guy sympathizes, recalling similar feelings. Leonard offers to buy Zilk for a day. Despite the tempting offer of a large sum, he refuses twice without hesitation. The blonde insists that it is enough to just let yourself be dressed like a doll. The guy recalls that the blonde often makes girls cry because of his daring experiments. Leo is confident that he will find the vulnerability of his interlocutor and turn him into a new muse. Both laugh at the table, attracting the attention of the guests sitting at the next table. Art gets up from the table, intending to intervene in the conversation. He approaches his friends and demands that his brother socialize with other people at the party. Zilk says he's not having fun. Leonard jokingly suggests giving it to Art. Relatives take Zilka by the arms, despite his protests. The bachelor says he can go on his own. He is outraged that he is expected to communicate with other strangers. Zilk says he is tired and sees no point in small talk. He notes to himself that all this time he was only led in circles with women, without being given any rest. Zilk admits that he doesn't remember any names, even though he's spoken to many women. His brother tells him to talk to those present, and the girl adds that many are interested in wedding rings. Zilk notices a girl in the crowd. It is Katerina, whom he recognizes immediately. The bachelor comments that she is constantly surrounded by men and does not look happy. Zilk and Katerina silently meet each other's eyes, as if they understand each other without words. Katerina is tired of her fans and is trying to find a reason to leave them. The guy stands alone on the balcony, enjoying the rare silence. He notes that the night wind is a bit relaxing. Katerina appears on the balcony, cursing that Zilk did not help her get rid of the guys chasing her. He remains indifferent, saying that he is not obliged to help her since he is not her fiancé. The girl shouts that it is necessary to help people in trouble, regardless of connections. Katerina falls exhausted onto the guy's shoulder to rest. She says that she is only interested in music, the rest is just noise. Zilk asks why she came to this reception if she wanted to give up publicity. Katerina reminds him of the 3 obsessive girls. Katerina asks the guy to introduce her to Leonard. He is surprised. She explains that she has long dreamed of a designer dress from him, but was embarrassed. The guy advises her to get to know him herself. Katerina is afraid of appearing as a fan and losing face. The guy is surprised by how famous he is. He remembers that Leonard just needs a model for his new clothes and thinks it's a sign. The reasoning continues. The girl has a good balance of appearance and status. She is not just a doll, but a promising model and composer. The guy decides to introduce her to Leonard personally. Katerina asks why he is so kind. This is unusual and unfamiliar to him. The man with the glass makes excuses, looking away. He adds that all he wants is a free ticket to every concert and some publicity. Katerina and her escort approach Leonard, whom he calls to introduce her officially. Katerina introduces herself to Leonardo politely and excitedly. He says he is glad to meet them and hopes they like it here, smiling politely. Katerina admits that she always dreamed of a dress of his design, tailored to her measurements. Leonard agrees to make her a dress with a smile and invites her to his shop. He thanks Zilka for the introduction, calling him a go-between. The bachelor suggests that he make Katerina his doll, like an object for experiments. Leo agrees, Ilya asks how Katerina offended him and why he responded like that. Zilk replies that this is her punishment for her stupid request and smirks. The girl tells her brother that it is time to return to society. He is surprised that it is already evening. The guests turn and whisper, noticing the appearance of a new guest with the title. Art exclaims that it is Count Blend, a famous character. Two men walk towards the brothers to greet them. The brother asks Zilka if he knows the man. He calmly replies that they had crossed paths before, briefly. The man with the mustache explains that he came running as soon as he heard about Zilk's appearance at the party, which is rare. The bachelor reasons. If he were not there, that person would not be in such a hurry to the ball. The man with the mustache asks who he came with his brother or alone. The elder brother introduces the younger one as the head of the Lurin family. Art Lurin politely greets the man, calling him Count Blend, according to etiquette. The Count says that he got along well with Mr. Zilk and hopes to become friends with Art Lurin in the future as well. Art says that his brother doesn't usually socialize with aristocrats, and he is amazed that he knows Count Blend personally. Art is asked if he is also an inventor, and he replies that he followed in his brother's footsteps. They do not work in the same workshop. Art has his own, small but well-equipped. Art explains that he has his own workshop with his own employees, and his interlocutor says that he also prefers to work for himself, without outside interference. Zilk asks for an opinion on coffee grinders. The Count states that this is exactly what he wanted to talk about, as he has accumulated several comments. The man says that thanks to the coffee grinder, he can now drink delicious coffee every day. The device works perfectly and stably. Zilka is asked if he has decided to sell coffee grinders and is asked to take an additional order. He replies that he has not planned to do so yet due to his busy schedule and lack of time. The man says that his friends have fallen in love with coffee from Zilka coffee grinders, and he wants to order 50 automatic and 50 manual models, which amazes his interlocutor. The customer says he would like to give coffee grinders as a gift at the next tea party. He asks if it is possible to fulfill the order in 2 weeks without delaying the delivery. Zilk is confused. He is not sure whether he will be able to cope with such a large volume on time. The man promises to pay double and provide any assistance needed, including supplies. Zilk considers whether he can cope under such conditions, assessing his resources and possible risks. The boy admits that his workshop is too small. He says that if his brother helps, they can cope together, joining forces. Art tenses up, and Zilk smiles, anticipating their collaboration and possible success. The younger brother promises excellent work. The customer happily accepts the agreement and expresses gratitude for the support. The Count says that he expects the result in 2 weeks and leaves, satisfied with the outcome of the meeting. Art asks if the coffee grinder is a magical tool. Zilk says that there is nothing complicated in its production, and there is no magic. The younger one calms down and thanks the older one for his trust, although he is still a little nervous. He asks again what exactly. Art says that the elder could have handled it himself, but chose to help. Zilk thinks that this will help his brother establish himself as a good craftsman and will benefit the whole family, but he does not say this out loud, hiding his intentions. The guy admits that he has already shifted all the work onto his brother. He hasn't even started preparing himself. Art says that since his conscience is bothering him, he should come to family dinners and other parties. Zilk replies that this is different and has nothing to do with business. A few days later, Zilk decides to continue preparing for the order. Zilk shared the order with Rudge and reasons that with Art's help, the order can be completed in 2 weeks without resorting to outside help. He goes to the Adventurers Guild. He thinks he's tired of that evening and wants to be alone in nature, having a mental rest. He meets a stranger who suddenly stands in front of him on the way. A guy in armor stands in his way, asks his name, as if checking his identity. He wonders if Zilk recognizes him, but he receives a negative answer, which surprises him. The girl in the pointy hat notices that he has a helmet on his head, hiding his face. He realizes his mistake, and wonders how this could have happened. He takes off his helmet, but remains unrecognized, which causes annoyance. The bully is indignant. Everyone pays attention to him because he raises his voice. He shakes Zilk and says that they saw each other at Eat's wedding, but he doesn't remember him. The couple realizes that he really doesn't remember them. This is disappointing. They say that such a face is hard to forget. But a bachelor has a bad memory for people. The brute introduces himself as Gawain. He is from Eat and Mariella's group among their allies. Zilk assures that he will remember. The girl's name is Karen, and she is also from their group, along with Gawain. The bachelor inquires about the purpose of their visit. They came to thank him personally and on behalf of the entire group. Zilk doesn't understand why. For the rings he gave his friends for their weddings. The girl asks Gawain to explain properly, because he has lost his train of thought. They once again thank the newlyweds for the gift, considering it unique. Zilk reasons that Eta has good comrades, loyal and sincere. He is about to leave, but they stop him. The couple offers to join their group while the newlyweds are away for a while. Zilk refuses. He is not interested and is not in the mood. Gawain is surprised. Karen takes the refusal calmly and respectfully. The couple says goodbye and asks to call them if they change their mind. The bachelor is left perplexed. People in the building approach the wall of notices looking for a job, evaluating options. He is distracted by a guild employee, Milena, with a prepared task. She just started working there. She hands him a mission to the Eastern Forest, thinking it would be a good fit. Zilk is surprised that there are newcomers in the guild. She refuses the quest, feeling awkward. He explains that he collects information and chooses the task himself. He does not trust information from strangers and newcomers. Milena apologizes for the misunderstanding and leaves, slightly embarrassed. The girl says that she will do everything to make him trust her, trying to earn his attention. Zilk considers her strange, as well as all the employees in the guild. People continue to crowd the building, creating noise and fuss around the notice board. Milana talks to Vivian and shares her impressions of Zilk's refusal to accept the assignment. They are glad that at least he didn't yell, as happened with other newcomers. Milana thought about the situation and decided to draw conclusions for herself. She judged Zilk's coolness by the sum of his accomplishments and behavior. Vivian asked in surprise if she had heard right. Milana gave her reasons. He is a genius wizard. He reached B rank on his own. He is handsome and rich, all at once. Now she has a new goal, to get to know him better and establish contact. Vivian asks if she's going to pick him up or at least ask him out on a date. The girl answers in the affirmative and says that she will not miss a second such chance. While the girls discuss plans, Zilk considers whether to go to the Eastern Forest for some peace and quiet. Milana is glad that she has already declared her rights to Zilka in front of her friends. She had lost Isekai'd, and now there was only one man left in the guild who suited her in every way. The girl asks her friends if they want to take Zilka for themselves to eliminate competition. Milana mentally crosses them off the list of competitors, confident in her chances. His girlfriends are skeptical and think that he is perfect and therefore unattainable. But the girl considers herself an ideal match and worthy of his attention. She continues to admire his beauty, even comparing him to an actor. The girls want to see what comes of it, but warn not to forget about work. Zilk walks through the forest, enjoying the nature and the sounds of footsteps on the soft ground. He looks at the sky and notes that the weather is fine. 2 wolves appear behind him, and he turns around warily. There's a whole pack of ash wolves behind him, and they suddenly attack. Zilk planned to relax, but is forced to use magic in self-defense. Stone fragments fly towards the wolves, creating a powerful magical volley. Some of the wolves were knocked down, but several broke through and attacked unexpectedly from behind. Zilk raises his hand to cast a spell. One wolf is surprised and stops. At that very moment, the wolves are struck by lightning and fly several meters away. The wolves lie unconscious on the ground. Zilk is pleased that the shock ring is very easy to use in combat. The animals remain motionless, struck by magic. The bachelor takes out a knife and plans to collect evidence of their murder for the guild. Fish swim in the water. Zilk walks, hears birds singing, and notes that it is much calmer here than in the capital. But in exchange for life in the village, one must give up the conveniences and comforts of the city. In a past life, even the internet could be installed in a village. In this world, everything is much more complicated. Zilk enjoys the village only when he gets tired of the constant hustle and bustle of the city. He is about to put up the tent and suddenly feels a slight longing for eat. He drives in pegs and feels that something is wrong. As if he is being watched. He realizes that someone is watching from behind the trees, perhaps a wild animal. At first I thought it was the wolves again, returning to the smell of blood. He believes that because of the blood on the bag, the wolves could have tracked him into the forest. 8 suddenly appears, stepping out from behind a tree with a slight smile. Zilk says that Eat is now married. He agrees that he has been leaving the house less often, but they arrived at the same time. Eat says he had a feeling they would meet, which slightly irritates Zilka. The bachelor asks if Mariella came with him. Eth replies that she stayed at home. She let him go alone, understanding that he needed rest. Zilk is glad of her common sense. Eth thanks him for the advice that helped his wife become more understanding. The aristocrat says that he has started selling coffee grinders and offers to buy them, demonstrating both options. He offers both automatic and manual models. 8 would take both without hesitation. They sit under the awning, chatting. The blonde enjoys the taste of hand-ground coffee. Zilk notices a wedding ring on 8's finger and thinks for a moment. The blonde man says that he will wear it constantly, as a symbol of an important promise. This irritates Zilka again. He asks not to say it again. Eth thanks him for coming to the wedding and for the gift. The bachelor replies that he has already been praised many times. The blonde wanted to thank him again. Zilk remembers meeting Eth's comrades in the guild. He is surprised. The brunette says that they tried to invite him along. 8 blames himself. There is a misunderstanding between them. The blonde tries to intrigue Zilk. He replies that if advice is needed, he is ready to listen. 8 looks friendly. He pours coffee. They exchange opinions about its quality and laugh. While Eth drinks, Zilk takes a box out of his bag. He puts it on the table. The blonde looks at the box. There's a whole chicken inside. Friends discuss that Zilk cooked it yesterday and is going to smoke it a little before eating. The brunette wants to drive 8 away, but he also brought something. Zilk thinks it's wine, but it turns out to be something just as good. Eth shows the package. He unfolds it, and there is the belly meat of the Orc King and the fillet of the heavenly serpent. Zilk is delighted and, in exchange for meat, renounces his claims. They decide to fry one piece and smoke the other. Eth starts frying. The boys are preparing food. The meat is being fried on a baking tray. 8 wields tongs. Zilk smokes chicken. The bachelor takes out a suitcase with a cup inside. A drink and a glass of ice appear. Eth is angry that Zilk is drinking alone and asks to share. The meat is almost ready. The bachelor poured the blonde one. They had just finished cooking and put the meat on the plate. They taste the meat. Zilk chews thoroughly and notes the pleasant taste. The meat is juicy and smells delicious. Now it's clear what the Orc King tastes like, and if you wash it down with whiskey, it's absolutely perfect. 8 decides to have a drink too. Sees bubbles in the whiskey. Zilk says it's carbonated. 8 tries. He likes it very much. It's called a whiskey highball. 8 wants the same soda, finds out where he can buy it. Zilk says he got it from an unusual store. The blonde asks where to get it. It's about the cup. It's a magical artifact. There is fizzy drink splashing at the bottom of the cup. Eth is surprised by the existence of such an artifact. He wants to buy it, but is refused. He is ready for any price, but the brunette does not agree. Then he has to sell at least water. The bachelor is ready to exchange it for orc meat. The friends came to an agreement. They decided to repeat more water and meat. 8 fries the fillet of the sky serpent. The meat is beautiful inside. Zilk tastes, chews, and evaluates. The taste is unexpected for him. But this is because there is little fat, and it resembles red meat. Zilk thinks soy sauce would go well with it. The friends start on the chicken. They happily cut up the chicken. Both take a bite. Eth says there's nothing like the taste. Zilk liked the meat of the Orc King. The blonde screams in horror. He drank it all, and wants more. The bachelor stops him. They sit under the awning and discuss how Eta's marriage has not changed. The friends are walking through the city. The blonde asks where Zilk will go now. He's going to a bar, but 8 can't go because of his wife. Zilk reminds him of his marital duty. The friend replies that he and his wife have wonderful nights. 8 turns around and goes home. The brunette tells him after him that he is sorry. He was planning to ask the bartender to make cocktails with soda. 8 comes back. He grabs Zilko and shouts that he might get a divorce because of him. After all, it sounds really tasty. 8 is going to go to the bar too. Brunette says he was joking and won't drink anything like that. 8 threatens to be offended if he lies. The blonde leaves. Zilk reasons that after marriage, the wife is waiting at home, so it is better not to stay out late. 8 has lost a lot, and his freedom has diminished. It is especially difficult for him, because he is used to freedom and has many friends. Not all friends can understand this. The blonde walks away. Zilk reasons that his wife should not be deprived of time with her beloved, and that single men should consider the circumstances of their married friends. Zilk walks down the street among the crowd, thinking that life changes after marriage. He says that being single is good. At the bar, the elf behind the counter greets the visitor. Zilk sits down at the counter. Elsie sniffs the air, her face contorting. She looks at Zilk and says that he smells. He admits that he spent half a day smoking meat, but used deodorant. The elf explains that she has a heightened sense of smell, but the smell is pleasant. The girl asks what the word smoke means. Zilk explains that smoking requires wood shavings. He specifies that the smoke from the shavings gives the meat a special taste and aroma. This is the first time she hears about it. And he says that the method is not very well known. The elf asks what it tastes like. Zilk holds out the package and offers to try it. There is smoked meat on the plate. She specifies that it is the meat of the Orc King and the Sky Serpent. Zilk replies that he and Eth smoked it together. Elsie smiles and remarks that it is funny when a high-ranking prospector brings such expensive loot to the bar. The elf first sniffs the meat, then carefully tastes it. Zilk watches her chew. The girl says it tastes good. The elf suggests that the meat would go well with red wine, but sake would also work. Zilk asks if there is any sake here. There is a culture in this world similar to Japan, and it is located somewhere in the Far East. Despite the existence of a culture similar to Japan, goods from there are almost not represented, since diplomatic relations with this country are only just being established. Zilk speculates that until relations normalize, it is unlikely that anything will be imported from the other side of the ocean. The girl takes out a bottle of sake. The guy asks to try it and she agrees. Sake is poured into glasses with a floral design. Zilk clarifies what brand it is. She reads the label on the bottle. Spring Blessing. Adding the variety, Daiginzeishu. This sake is clean and strong and pairs perfectly with smoked meats. A girl and a boy raise glasses of sake. He tries the drink. The girl adds that the dryness of the sake emphasizes the soft taste of the rice, and the guy agrees. They snack on meat. Zilk eats smoked meat and washes it down with sake. He notes that he did not expect to taste such a combination of flavors. The elf calls the sake good. Zilk says he liked it too. He freezes. The boy remembers how Eat insisted on going to the bar with him, and notes that if he had come, he would be drinking sake now. Zilk thinks about his friend with regret. The elf asks where she can buy smoked meat. Zilk replies that he makes it himself. She asks if he can sell her some. Zilk agrees. But there is a condition. She guesses that he will ask to tell where she bought the sake. The elf writes down the address and name of the shopkeeper. She says that the shop will sell him sake if he says it's from her. Zilk accepts the note and promises to come there tomorrow. He smiles and holds the piece of paper in his hand. Zilk asks what kind of smoked meat is needed. Elsie asks about options. Zilk walks along a busy market street. He reads the note with directions and walks alone. The note says to turn left around the corner. The guy looks at the diagram on paper and is perplexed. Zilk walks down the alley. He is sure that the place he is looking for must be somewhere nearby. He notices a building and it looks like this is it. The guy walks inside, lifting the curtain. He notices goods of Oriental origin: masks, fans, a tea set, porcelain, and a Daruma figurine. He notes that there are indeed many Oriental goods here. He looks around and thinks that there is no sake in sight. They greet him. The shop owner asks him if he is interested in Eastern culture. The guy explains that Elsie said that they sell sake here. The seller says she is an elf and he has never seen her with a man. Zilk clarifies that they are not in a relationship, they were just discussing the pairing of sake and food. The owner tries the cheese and says that it goes well with sake, although it has an unusual taste. Zilk apologizes for not introducing himself yet. The owner calls himself Homura. The bachelor replies that his name is Zilk Lurin. Homura is surprised to learn the name and asks if Zilk is an aristocrat. The shopkeeper apologizes. The owner says that he himself is not yet familiar with the culture of Zilka. The aristocrat wonders if nobles have come here before. Zilk wonders why the store is located in such a secluded location. He suggests that if it were more well known, there would be more customers. The owner says he does it more as a hobby to avoid overloading himself with work. He explains that there are few goods because it is difficult to deliver them from the Far East. Homura reports that the sake is kept in the back room. Zilk is surprised. He follows him inside. They enter a room with many bottles of sake. Zilk looks at the shelves. Homura, pressing his finger to his lips, asks him to keep everything a secret, adding that he only let him in because of the mention of Elsie, and usually turns down new customers. The owner notices that Zilk knows about sake and offers to choose any drink. The brunette confidently answers that he knows the basics and agrees. Zilk asks if he can choose any bottle. Homura says yes. Zilk studies the bottles and notices that each variety has a short description, but most of the names are unfamiliar to him. There are 2 bottles with descriptions on the display case. Zilk notices that some of the brands remind him of brands from the previous world, and continues to look through the shelves while Homura watches him. The seller looks at Zilk in surprise. He turns around. There are 3 varieties on display. Zilk looks closely at the description of the sake, but notices that it is terrible. Homura is tense and thinks that something is wrong. Zilk calmly says that everything is fine. The bachelor steps away from the bottles. Homura exhales, but he immediately returns back. He says he's taking this bottle. The owner is horrified. He tries to dissuade him, but Zilk guessed that it was that same sake. Homura asks how he guessed. The description was too simple. The owner did not expect to be exposed. He names the price, which is acceptable for Zilka. He wants to take 2 more bottles. The owner stops him. He doesn't want to give away the best sake. Homura assumes that the bachelor is from the east. He replies that he has lived in the kingdom all his life. Looks back at the bottles again. He says he will still take 3 bottles. The owner asks him to stop again. Then he asks for one. Homura says she won't let him in again. Zilk approaches the bottles, thinking that he could take 2 more bottles. The owner wants to send him away. Aristocrat moves on to choosing cups. Homura suggests choosing a bottle to match the color. She says that they are made by famous potters. Offers glass cups. Despite the fragility, the color of the sake is visible through the glasses and the smell does not stick. Zilk thinks it's a good idea, but has doubts. The thinner, the better the taste. The bachelor decides to take bottles and cups. The owner offers something else. Zilk asks for rice, soy sauce, and miso. Homura doesn't understand. The aristocrat explains that rice and sake are the basis of food culture, and miso and soy sauce are a must-have for everyone. The owner asks again whether the guest is from the east. Then comes the components. Zilka is struck by the thought that more pickles are needed. Homura is sure that he is from the east. Zilk warns Rudge and Tristan that he is going home. He says that a delicious dinner is waiting for him at home. Rudge notes that this will make them leave later. Wedding rings and coffee grinders have made things a lot of work. The guys are often late. Zilk decides to raise their morale. Talks about a gift. Takes out 2 bottles of sake. He says it's not just alcohol. Tristan suggests that this is the same sake from the Far East. Rudge is surprised that it is already available for purchase. Zilk says he's from a closed shop. Colleagues are shocked. Rudge is not sure they can accept such a valuable gift. The aristocrat reassures her and receives gratitude. Colleagues rejoice and thank. Zilk goes home. The team says goodbye. At home, Zilk runs her fingers through rice in preparation for making dinner. Puts it in a saucepan. The main thing in its preparation is not to overdo it. Now he takes the miso and mixes it with sushi chopsticks. Puts it in pork soup, specifying that they go together. Pour soy sauce into a bowl. He takes a pickled cucumber and turnip from the plates with sushi chopsticks. The standard menu of Japanese cuisine is ready. Zilk wishes himself a bon appetit. He takes rice with chopsticks. Tries one thing, then another, drinks soup from a bowl, exhales joyfully, enjoys the taste of hot soup. He is overcome with nostalgia. His soul rejoices. Zilk is pleased with the food and its perfect combination. He takes up the sake. He takes a glass and pours the drink. For an appetizer, there are bacon-wrapped potatoes and grated mushrooms. Appreciates the quality of glasses, enjoys sake. Zilk analyzes the drink. Adds that it is just right. Drinking seka and eating delicious food is wonderful. He is grateful to Elsie and wants to bring her some smoked meats. He opens the bottle and is about to pour another one. The girl approached Zilk to tell him the news. Mr. Art wanted him to check the coffee grinders that he made himself. The guy was unhappy that he would have to work again today. He told the girl that there was no need for it, since Art always did everything perfectly. The girl didn't like his answer at all. She reminded him that things still needed to be checked for defects, especially since it was impossible to allow Count Blend to receive defective goods. She couldn't afford to lose a client like that. He always had to listen to her nag him. Bridge wanted to continue, but Zilk quickly got ready and headed for the exit. The young man was already in the Count's estate and opened the door, intending to enter. He was met by the maids. He didn't understand why they were so surprised to see him every time, maybe because he came rarely. Then he was met by a joyful Sarah. She finally saw her uncle. He squatted down to greet her, but forgot her name and became lost in thought. The girl immediately began to cry, deciding that he had not remembered that her name was Sierra. A lucky chance helped him. She involuntarily said her name and he repeated it, calming her down. The girl was very happy to hear that he remembered. The butler came down to him and said hello. He asked what business he had come to them for. Zilk explained that Art had called him for work and asked where he was. They told him that he was busy in the workshop and would most likely return closer to evening. The guy did not want to wait for him until then in the mansion. It would be too boring. Sarah expected him to stay and play with her, looking at her. Zilk understood this. In order not to hang around here, he decided to go straight to his workshop. The girl didn't like that her uncle would leave. Just like her grandmother, Mom and Dad, they were boring to her. She reminded him of Elijah. In his memories 10 years ago, he remembered how she constantly pestered him, asking to play with him. She was preventing him from finishing the book, and he asked permission to finish it in exchange for a sweet lollipop. Ilya agreed and left him alone. She could be easily dealt with. While Zilk was rummaging through his bag, he asked Gilliam to pass this item to distract Sarah. What he handed the man were smoked nuts in a box. The guy is sure that she will like it, but the butler thinks that such tricks will not work with the girl, but he will try to do everything possible. He showed Sarah the nuts, and she immediately felt the pleasant smell of food and thought that most likely it will be delicious. While Gilliam distracted her, Zilk was slowly getting ready to leave. The man promised to treat the girl to smoked nuts. Only after she answered the questions, she agreed without hesitation. The man asked if the guy needed a carriage. He expressed his gratitude for the offer, but declined it because he wanted to walk to the workshop on his own 2 feet. The Lurin family workshop had many trainees. The employees were of different ages, from children to old people. They all worked on creating magical tools. On the way to the workshop, a boy came out to meet the gentleman. He asked him with a presentation what he was doing there. The girl standing next to him explained that this was the territory of the Lurin family, and outsiders were not allowed to enter. Zilk replied that he was also a member of this family, but Kurt did not believe his words. The guy rarely showed up in the workshop, and it was not surprising that no one knew him. He got tired of the meaningless conversations and demanded to invite the chief. The enraged young man, rolling up his sleeves, suggested throwing him out using brute force. The girl stopped him. Maybe he could be their client, and they needed to make sure first. Kurt gave in and said he would go call Fran, but accidentally ran into another person. The guy who was carrying the box in his hands asked the boy to watch where he was going. After a while, his gaze fell on Zilk, and he froze for a while. Realizing who was standing in front of him, he dropped the box he was holding in his hands in surprise. The children did not understand who it was and wondered. He began to explain in a panic that he was Mr. Art's older brother and had invented 46 instruments. Kurt realized that a real genius, Zilk Lurin, had come to them. The girl and the boy apologized for their behavior. They just didn't know him. The guy asked them not to worry so much and asked if he could go to Art because he had some business with him. They couldn't refuse him and offered to take him there. The younger brother was busy working with his colleague. The crowd gathered around Zilka and looked at him with admiration. Seeing him, Art said hello. He asked what had happened to him since the last time he had been in the workshop was a year and a half ago. The guy replied that nothing special had happened. Zilk noticed that there were too many people in production, even too many. But his brother explained that large-scale production required a large number of workers. The eldest son wanted to get down to business and asked to go with him to the back room. But the younger one looked at him strangely, and he asked if everything was okay with him. He explained that the young man rarely appeared in the workshop and asked to look around. Having left their work, the workers kept glancing at Mr. Zilka, and their faces expressed obvious admiration for him. What he saw confused him, but all eyes were on him, waiting to hear something. He had no choice, because it was because of his presence that the procession was stopped, and the first thing he did was introduce himself to them. He noted that the employees working for the Lurin family are either already professionals in their field or are just starting out, and he would like to address them with some words. To create an outstanding instrument, it was necessary to strive to ensure that it could make life easier for both oneself and those around you. The price didn't matter, only the progress was important. It was necessary to use all your experience and not to neglect the knowledge of others. When his speech came to an end, the workshop staff applauded, and some of them couldn't hold back tears of joy. For Zilka, such a reaction seemed overly emotional. Art was perplexed why Zilka wasn't happy, because everyone around him was admiring his talent. He didn't care at all what others thought of him. The younger brother was surprised when he heard that he decided to say something good about others. If life became too comfortable, Art would lose his income. In response, he expressed his willingness to become his apprentice, but he had no need for new students besides. There were no other geniuses except himself. Then his younger brother reminded him of Tristan, a very handy guy. Zilk admitted that he was doing well, but still far from him. He showed good results in working with magic crystals, although he still has room to grow, but overall he can be relied on. The young man had a different opinion. He believed that Tristan's head was empty, which is why he could make many mistakes when creating magical tools without instructions. Art believed that his brother made excessive demands on those around him. Zilk examined the coffee machine carefully and assured that it was in good working order. The young man breathed a sigh of relief, feeling joy from what he heard. The box contained 3 dozen coffee machines that suited the guy, and he could send them to Count Blend. Art thanked him for his help, and he was glad that he could help. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. It was Fievel. She learned of Zilk's arrival at the workshop and decided not to miss the opportunity to ask him for a favor. The young man invited her to come in, and when the door swung open, a girl was standing behind her. It was Elijah, and Zilk, feeling out of place, asked what she was doing there. In response, he heard a request to shut up. Mr. Lauren asked Fievel what she wanted to ask him. In response, the girl said that the prototypes of the wedding rings were already ready, and it was necessary to take a look at them. Fievel held out samples of men's and women's rings, which the young man examined carefully. He noticed that she had used a magical barrier and strengthened the disease resistance in the ring. The girl was surprised that he had noticed such a small detail, although if you looked closely at the magic diagram, it was quite obvious. The other 2 samples were created by Ilya, who also did not expect him to be able to understand this, and asked how he understood it. Zilk explained that she had a unique working style, and Art wanted to know what he meant. Inside the small object was written a small magical scheme, but with large symbols. This was a characteristic feature of the girl that no one except Ilya could have created it. She skillfully placed detailed magic schemes in small objects, sometimes deliberately making his work difficult by creating miniature designs that he could not work with. Moreover, she paid a lot of attention to design, and Zilk recently saw the lamps she made and realized that he could not repeat them. The guy thought he could do it more effectively than she did. This made Ilya lose his temper. In a fit of anger, she demanded that he shut up and then left the room, loudly slamming the door. Fievel thinks that the girl was glad that Zilk could appreciate her work, since it indicated that he had studied her work carefully. Even Art was amazed that his brother was capable of such an act. The young man did not understand why Ilya was glad that he was able to understand that this was her work. They explained to him that this, to put it simply, returning to Zilk's work, asked to continue working on rings. The girl expressed gratitude for the help provided and added that she would increase the speed of work after receiving new orders. The young man did not expect anything less from Fievel. The design was top-notch, as was the quality. She fully understood that she could please not only the female sex, but also the male. It seems that both she and the other really like making rings, so there was no need to motivate them. It seems he was not mistaken when he chose these 2 girls. Someone knocked on the door and said that it was Zilka's father. The guy didn't expect his father to know that he had arrived and asked them to explain to him that he had already left. It was already late. He entered the room and saw his son. Zilk wanted to run away, saying that it was time for him to go home, but he wouldn't let him in, offering him some tasty alcohol. He finally got out of the workshop. He had originally planned not to stay long, but ended up staying late. Noticing him, the girl who was walking behind him suddenly pointed her finger at him and screamed loudly. He gestured in the opposite direction, informing her that her colleagues were greeting her from there. Trustingly accepting his words, she turned in the direction indicated. At the moment when the girl was distracted, he attempted to escape, although the girl quickly noticed his escape and shouted for him to stop. The young girl did not calm down, demanding that he stop running away from her, and rushed after him. Without taking her eyes off Zilka, she followed him closely, and he wondered if he would have time to go into his apartment before he gets caught. As soon as he crossed the threshold of the entrance, the girl quickly followed him in and stood in his way, not allowing him to go further. Zilk noted that the girl was surprisingly fast, and she replied that it was due to good genetics. He laughed, pointing out that she was very out of breath, and suggested that she do more sports, and not just sit on her ass and compose music. She was angry and asked him to shut up, because he himself spent all day sitting on his pants. The guy explained that he goes outside more often because he is an adventurer. When she learned about this, she froze in a stupor. The girl mimicked him, saying that his main job was to make magic tools and that he was probably weak as an adventurer. Zilk replied that she had missed the mark. He had managed to raise his B rank on his own. She was shocked. If you think about it, he was an inventor and a good adventurer, just like the ideal man from the cover. While the girl was distracted, he quietly wanted to slip away, but she again noticed it in time. Katarina shouted out her intention to complain, but Zilk was completely confused, not understanding what she was going to complain about. Thanks to the guy, she found herself in a terrible situation. It was he who introduced her to Pinak. The young man does not understand what this has to do with him, if it was her own request. The girl understood perfectly well that he was completely right, but she had no idea that they would make a dressed-up doll out of her. Katarina kept walking with him and said that he had been bothering her for a whole day. Zilk asked if this was true, and the young girl confirmed it. He expressed his happiness for her as if nothing had happened, which made her angry. She concluded that he was mocking her, but he had no intention of doing so. The guy, as a person, was simply glad that Leonard liked her. She doubted it. Although, on the other hand, the guy had fun looking for the girl everywhere. Leonard has a bad habit of getting rid of girls after he manages to turn them into dolls. Usually it is enough for him to dress up young girls and understand whether she is worth his attention or not. If he passes strict quality control, then he may even recognize the girl as the right one. The girl was already inspired, realizing that she had received such attention from the guy, and asked if these words were true. Zilk replied that she could personally verify this. He himself was absolutely sure that he liked her. The young man also told her that Leonardo's personal feelings were of no importance, and that he was also not interested in listening to her complaints after he had fulfilled her personal request. He said goodbye to her and slammed the door in her face. The girl continued to knock on the door, but the guy didn't pay attention. He was more worried about the fact that tomorrow he would have a rest alone with himself. Another day off in the quiet of his room was all he needed for a good day. Zilk decided that the weather was nice enough today that he could go shopping. As he wandered the streets, he needed to fill his stomach with something first and then continue. He didn't want to eat in a cafeteria or a restaurant, but street food was also hard for him. As he explored everything, his eyes fell on one eatery. Having noticed the yakitori, Zilk, believing that shashlik cooked on coals must be delicious, bought a portion of rock bird from the merchant. The dish was served without spices or sauce. Apparently the cook was confident in the taste of the meat. The young man began to eat. As soon as he tasted the chicken, his face instantly distorted in disgust and bull. The meat tasted like fish. The taste of this dish is reminiscent of rice that has been in the refrigerator for a long time, and for some reason they decided to reheat it, and the spices, and they spared the salt. The meat was rare, but it was cooked disgustingly, and it also gave off an unpleasant smell. It was simply impossible to eat, and it was very tough. Zilk approached the man he had bought the food from. He told the seller that the meat was of poor quality and had been cooked disgustingly. In response to the complaint, he buried his face even deeper in the newspaper and explained that apparently the guy was unlucky and had gotten such a piece. The guy was furious and, snatching the newspaper from his hands, asked if his conscience was bothering him. The seller finally paid attention to him and told him to prepare his own food if he was unhappy with something. Zilk was taken aback by what he heard. He had nothing to say, because to some extent he was right. The food in his hands wouldn't have tasted any better if he stood there and pointlessly argued with the rude worker. The guy was wasting his time. Seeing a guard nearby, Zilk decided to approach him to express his dissatisfaction with the eatery. The guards responded to the complaint and went to check on the merchant, while Zilk decided to go home and make his own yakitori. He got home and immediately found himself in the kitchen, where, sparing no effort, started ready chicken fillet. All that's left is to thread it onto skewers. The first thing he needed to do was to take care of the leather. In his past life, he especially remembered the way yakitori was prepared in Fukuoka, and now he was going to repeat. You need to wrap a flat surface of leather around a wooden skewer, and carefully place it on the very edge and secure it. Looking at the prepared semi-finished products, he realized that I overdid it with the quantity. The heart needs to be held tightly with your thumb, threaded onto the sticks so that the tip protrudes slightly, and you need to do it carefully so that the axis is fried evenly and it is pleasant to look at. Next came the onions. The skin was wrapped around the meat so that it was taut. Looking at his creation, he realized that he had done it beautifully. Next up was the sesame, which was meat from the neck, and they looked like meat fibers and were thin, so they were skewered more carefully. If done carelessly, the meat would hang off the stick and burn during frying. Zilk had prepared everything he had, and all that was left was a small matter. He began to fry the meat. He soaked the skewers of meat in the sauce and then placed them on the grill using charcoal to cook. The recipe for the sauce intended for meat was borrowed. Cooking takes a lot of time, but it was worth it. The more you work on your food, the tastier it is. This didn't work with people. Even if you give them a lot of love and effort, they will easily stab you in the back in return. As long as you treat food correctly, it will never betray you in your life. That seller shamelessly took, for direct, low-quality food, he was not going to forgive him for such. While he was busy frying, Zilk realized that the ventilation had stopped working and the entire room was filled with smoke. He had to open a window to air out the kitchen and had to change his clothes because all his clothes smelled of food. Without stopping, he fried the meat. Turning them regularly, he did it masterfully. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, which the young man clearly heard. He was not paying attention. He was enjoying the wonderful smell of the yakitori frying with complete equanimity, but the man behind the door kept ringing the bell, and this made him angry. He opened the door in a rage and asked who had come to see him at such an hour, and his annoying neighbor appeared before him. The young man asked what she wanted. Unable to remain silent, Katerina indignantly complained that his culinary talent reeked of meat a mile away. He was amazed that the aroma of the food he had prepared had reached her. Because of all this, all the clothes that she had hanging to dry smelled. The guy himself decided to check if this was true and was convinced of it. He had no choice but to apologize and offered to order cleaning, but she refused. The girl asked to stop frying before the rest of the neighbors like her came to complain. Zilk could not agree with her. He did not want to stop, since the food was almost ready. She was surprised, not understanding the reason for the refusal. He explained that he never throws away almost finished meat that he fried with his own hands halfway through. The neighbor was not very concerned about this and began to demand more insistently that he stop. Zilk wanted her to get lost and leave him alone when suddenly he heard her stomach rumble from hunger. Having thought of something, he asked Katerina to wait a little, which caused her complete confusion. Soon he returned holding a plate of treats in his hands. She frowned and asked what he had brought. Zilk said that he had collected rock bird meat, gizzards, meat with onions, and a bunch of other things on a plate. The girl explained that she hadn't come to him to beg for food, although she was drooling when she looked at the delicious plate. Zilk treated her to a meal as payment for the inconvenience and asked her not to return the dishes. He said goodbye to Katerina and closed the doors. Now he needed to get some more ale and prepare the remaining semi-finished products in order to avoid any problems in the future. The girl woke up, but slept a few hours more than usual. She had a day off and did not need to go outside. She came across a pile of dirty clothes. All this had accumulated over the course of a whole week, and she didn't feel like doing the laundry, but she had to do it. Katerina had a washing machine, a very convenient magical item. It was much easier to wash than to bother doing it by hand. To start it working, you need to add a special product, and then press the button. The magic stone located inside created water, and the wash started. This innovative tool made all the tedious household chores much easier. The girl learned that there was a new version with a built-in dryer, and it cost 5 million. She already had money for such a magical item. At home, her parents' laundry costs decreased, and her father and butler were happy about this, but as a result, many housekeepers were fired, leaving them without work. With the advent of many different magical items, many professions ceased to be in demand. This continued for 20 years. She remembered that it was Zilk who was the reason for this, and tried to remove his image from her head. On this wonderful day, sitting in her living room, the girl felt joy from the fact that she had finally finished reading an interesting books. A girl who doesn't strive for love unwittingly gradually makes a guy fall in love with her. This is a story about how they start thinking about love and how they come to understand that it is necessary. I also wanted to experience something similar. After each book she read, Katerina began to fantasize, but reality turned out to be different. As a result, she turned into a boring adult. Her whole life was dedicated to music, and there was no room for love in her. Even though the story had touched her, there was no time to think about such nonsense. She remembered the laundry hanging on the dryer, which she calculated should have dried by now. Just as the girl was about to get up, she saw a balcony through the door and a thick, There was smoke in the street. She was scared, not understanding where it came from. She went out onto the balcony, and the smell made it clear that it was not smoke from a fire, but something with a pleasant aroma. Feeling something was wrong, she came closer to the things and sniffed. Realizing that all her clothes smelled of food, she was overcome by deep despondency. Angrily, Katerina went in search of the source of the smell and soon noticed smoke pouring out of the neighboring balcony. At the door of the culprit of all this, there was a girl standing there, persistently asking him to stop his culinary experiments, but he stubbornly refused, trying to slam the doors. Her speech was interrupted by a sound coming from her stomach, and she became embarrassed. The delicious aroma was to blame. The young man asked her to wait a little. He brought the food he had prepared, and told what he had prepared. The appetizing dish lay on the plate, and Katerina looked at him without taking her eyes off him. This gesture was a kind of compensation for the problems he had created for her. While she was trying to comprehend the situation, Zilk said goodbye, asked her to keep the plate, and abruptly closed the door. Left alone, she muttered under her breath that she would wash the plate and return it. Having already returned to her apartment, the neighbor sat down at the table and planned to taste the dish prepared by Zilk. Rockbird or cockatrice meat was really good for poultry dishes, but the guy had eaten dragon meat the other day and didn't share it with her. It was suspicious that he treated her this time. She took a bite and thought she would tell him what his food tasted like the next time they met. She was filled with admiration when she realized how delicious it was. The girl knew that men make the best cooks, but she didn't expect it to be so delicious. Crispy meat on the outside, juicy and soft on the inside, it was the best in town without a doubt. The young lady took a sip of the ale and, combined with the food, it went down a treat. Katerina reached for the next skewer and happily ate the hearts, which were also juicy. The gizzards were also crispy and had a distinctive texture but tasted salty. The sesame had a delicate flavor and a nice crunch, and the delicious green onions really brought out the flavor of the meat. She wanted to take a little more, but was surprised to find that there was nothing left on the plate. The girl grew up in an aristocratic family and therefore ate only good food, but what she just tasted was one of the best chicken dishes she had ever eaten. She couldn't get this thought out of her head. The girl wasn't sure she was eating rockbird meat. It seemed strange to her that it was so tender, and the meat was juicy, with juices flowing out. Zilk knew how to cook meat, he knew how to fry it and how to make sauce. At first she assumed that he just decided to cook the meat quickly, but after trying the dish, she realized that he spent a lot of time on it. He was probably one of those men who cooked well. Zilk was an aristocrat, handsome, rich, and with a promising future, and now it turned out that he also had a talent for cooking. Moreover, he was not married, which caused regret in the girl. As Zilk devoured the food and washed it down with alcohol, he felt the satisfaction of having prepared an incredibly appetizing dish with his own hands. When you cook yourself, the dishes turn out delicious. When wearing a fairy ring, any creature will have a hard time detecting a person. The blue flame keeper stone reduced the damage received from fire, but is not able to provide immunity. The young man said that he already had such artifacts. The man working in the artifact store linked this to the fact that if he went around all the retail outlets, something similar would happen to him. The guy is unhappy that he came to him every week to buy something, and the seller did not bring anything new. He justified this by saying that ordinary buyers do not visit such places every week, since the artifacts are expensive. What he heard surprised him. If he had the opportunity, he would have visited the artifact shop every day, but he had a lot of work. Zilk did not let up. Persistently asking if he had anything interesting, the man admitted that he did have something, but warned that these were cursed things. These artifacts were dangerous and unusable if the person did not approach. Once such an object that the guy had tormented him for a long time, he already began to sleep with his eyes open. Because of the stress that his body was going through, he had a hard time. The seller returned to Zilk holding the immortal's staff in his hands and placed black gloves on the table. When using the gloves, they could emit black webs, and the staff could create lower undead. The guy understood that in order to own such things, it was necessary to take official permission. This measure was necessary to prevent incidents that could occur due to human fault, or to avoid imprisonment due to lack of necessary approvals. There have been cases where people have gone crazy because they have collected too many cursed artifacts. People have started hearing their voices, and some artifacts have started moving. There have also been cases where the curse has killed the owner. Despite the awareness of the danger and being a maniac, the guy could not resist the temptation to get 2 cursed artifacts and would have paid as much as needed immediately. Zilk was going to visit someone else. The seller understood who exactly he would go to. He sealed the box with the guy's things and kept the reservation for him until he came for them. Moving the boxes, the elf carefully placed them on the shelves. Suddenly, the sound of the bell from the front door caught his attention, and he noticed the same young man again. The young man didn't like that he, as always, received with obvious displeasure. He turned his gaze to Guvan's bodyguard. With a smug grin, Zilk announced the acquisition of the cursed artifacts. The creature stared at him without saying a word, and he still couldn't figure out what he had said wrong. Apparently, it was waiting for a more detailed description, and he explained that it was about black gloves that could shoot webs and a staff of immortality, raising the undead. The bodyguard tried not to show his joy, but it was still visible. The young guy calmed him down by saying that he already booked items. Artifact fans are obliged to support each other, and Guvan has I'm already pretty tired of both of them. Zilk wondered if anything interesting had arrived for them. He was lucky he showed up at the right moment, and this time the man had something special for him. He was going to show it to him, but first he sent the creature away, allowing it to acquire whatever interested it, instead of walking back and forth and making noise. Hearing these words, he immediately ran out into the street. Zilk is not sure if this was the right thing to do, because he was defending Guvan. There was a B-rank adventurer in the room with him, and he would have protected him if anything happened, so there was no need for security. The young man did not object and asked to demonstrate the item he was interested in, and then the seller went away to bring it. He showed him the thing he was holding in his hands. It was an artifact called Frozen Time. It can capture the landscape from the rear aperture. All you have to do is press a button. Then a flash of light, and then the artifact showed the result on a special type of paper. This is exactly how this object worked. This thing represented a camera that instantly produces a Polaroid. Zilk pulled on his gloves, asked permission to inspect. Then, taking the camera in his hands, he thought about how to hold it correctly. Guvan paused for a moment to reflect, then noted how quickly he had gotten used to the new subject. The young man explained that the reason is the obviousness of the thing's operation. The functionality of this camera exactly repeats the functionality of Polaroids from his past life. Having received the photo from the camera, the man noted that the result was good. Zilk noted that the device instantly develops Polaroid photos. Unlike other cameras where you had to wait for the photo to develop, this camera was equipped with an artifact and gave out the image instantly. When he removed the lid of the artifact to examine it inside, he was blinded by the light. Noticing something inside, he was surprised he did not understand what it was. Most likely, it was magic 7-colored stone. Guvan had no knowledge about it, but he knew that this stone was necessary for the pictures. Most likely, this thing absorbed the user's magical power and then copied the image onto paper. Hearing about this, Zilk immediately became interested in the stone. He also knew that the stone could wear out over time, and when it stopped working, the artifact would also become unusable. Guvan asked Zilk about his intention to make a purchase. In response, the guy the first wanted to know the cost of the artifact, and heard in response that it was quite expensive. First of all, you need to understand that he found it high-ranking adventurer, deep in the dungeon. Secondly, it is important to consider the unique features of this artifact. And finally, it was necessary to take into account his costs for this item. Man showing 3 fingers voiced the sum of 300 million. Zilk, hearing this, stood there with his eyes wide open, amazed at the price. With a smug grin, he replied that he was taking it camera. The price was high, but the guy had one answer for everything. Now it was Guvan's turn to be surprised, since with this money one could have purchased 5 whole mansions in the capital. The price was lower than he expected, despite the limited number of uses. According to the man, the artifact will retain its functionality for some time, and he clarified whether he was definitely buying it. Even if it could only be used a couple of times, Zilk would have bought it without hesitation, paying 10 times more. He simply could not afford to miss out on such a wonderful thing. He managed to find a great angle for a photo of the city fountain. Walking around the city, Katerina and Leonardo suddenly saw Zilk lying on the ground. Surprised, they asked what he was doing. Noticing their guy thought they were on a date. This irritated the girl, and she responded negatively, although for Zilk it was just a joke. He already understood that she would be dragged around the shops again, like a doll to be dressed. The guy asked not to say so, emphasizing that they both liked to choose clothes together. He was more interested in why Zilk was sprawled out in the middle of the square, like some kind of lunatic, and wanted to know what kind of oddity he had in his hands. He frowned, not understanding why he was considered an oddball. Passers-by cast puzzled glances at him. He realized that it was because they didn't know what it was, so they thought it was strange. The young man asked if it was an artifact in his hands. Zilk explained that this thing could capture the world, and decided to demonstrate its capabilities by asking Katerina to strike a dramatic pose. Leonardo supported this idea. The girl hesitated a little, not wanting to do this, but still stood up as she was asked. The guy took a photo, and the girl was very scared by the sound and flash. A friend who was accompanying her on a walk watched carefully and noticed something appear. He was told that this was called a photograph. Leonardo was delighted with how Katerina turned out in the picture. She looked at the image and was amazed at how in an instant this thing could capture not only her, but also the fountain, the sky, and the birds. The guy realized that the artifact creates a picture of what you pointed at. Thanks to the new camera, there is no need for multiple photo sessions with models. Now any created image can be easily saved and demonstrated to clients in the future. Leo asked about the purchase price of the camera and learned that it cost $300 million since it was unique in its kind. With a sweet expression on his face, he asked to sell it to him, but Zilk categorically refused. He wanted to pay twice as much, $600 million, but the guy wasn't interested in the money, and he wouldn't sell. He burst into hysterics, saying that he really wanted this artifact and thought that Zilk was mean. Then he came up with a great idea. He wanted the guy to sell him photos of Katerina. Zilk would earn money from photographs and practice photography. The young man agreed to this. Leo was beside himself with joy and announced to everyone to go shopping again. The girl was indignant that her opinion was not taken into account. He told her that he would leave all the clothes to the girl they would buy. Hearing this, she confidently declared that she could be relied upon. At the clothing store, Leo had already selected several items to try on and quickly sent them to the booth. The girl happily obeyed. Katerina was clearly inspired and immediately became enthusiastic. There were also men's clothes, which he offered Zilk to try on, but he preferred to choose the clothes himself. The girl put on the dress and went out to show it to the guys. Leo asked her to pose for a photo. The girl happily began to take different poses. After seeing the finished photo, Leo was absolutely delighted and asked to take a few more photos from the back and side. The guy looked at each frame with interest, admiring the capabilities of the camera. A new idea for the angle came to his mind. Leonardo slightly lifted Katerina's dress, exposing her leg, and offered to take a picture like that. The girl, not expecting this, indignantly hit him, asking what he was allowing himself to do. The guy started to calm her down and asked to take a picture just once, but she sarcastically suggested taking another photo without clothes. He didn't need it, but photos under clothes are also important. It would help the tailors. Zilk suggested doing it next time. Leo had no choice but to agree. He actively commanded Zilk and asked to pay special attention to the belt with a bow, and also told the girl how to stand. Everyone was happy with the day, especially Leonardo. Now Katerina has outfits for several concerts and dinner parties. The young man warned Leo that the photos could be misused. Leo reassured him that he was well aware of the risk, and that it was his responsibility to protect the models. They said goodbye, and the young man was going to see the girl off. She asked why he wasn't going with them, to which Zilk replied that he preferred walking. Suddenly, the guy remembered something and started looking for something in the inside pocket of his jacket. He asked the girl to wait a little. After clearing his throat a bit, he handed her a couple of photos. Katerina tensed up, noticing his suspicious behavior. However, she thanked him, and he laughingly said that he didn't need money for this. Katerina looked at the 3 photographs that had been given to her, where she had come out quite badly. The girl was indignant at how unsuccessfully she had come across them. Zilk decided to look at the rest of the pictures at home. The next day, when he showed up for work, no one was there, and he found only a note from Rudge. It said that she and Tristan would be teaching people how to use a coffee grinder today, and would only return in the evening. She attached the invoice and asked to check it. Back to work with the coffee grinders. He enjoyed the silence until it was broken by a man who entered. Zilk tried unsuccessfully to hide under the table, but unfortunately, Noid saw his legs and the top of his head. The guy asked about the purpose of the visit, and he passed on an invitation from the gentleman. This was the event he was talking about, where they would hold coffee tastings, and he was invited. Since Art would also be there, Zilk was going to not go. but Noid insisted on his presence, mentioning the barista discussion. He wasn't particularly interested in this meeting, he wanted to send Art, but if we're talking about a barista, that's a different matter. It was the guy who dragged Count Blend and Art into all this, and it was necessary to follow everything to the end. Zilk asked to tell the Count that he would come to the event. Noid said that he would be waiting for him with impatience. Even in the new world, he was too lazy to work. Rudge and Tristan came back and were exhausted. They spent the entire day teaching everyone in the palace how to use the coffee grinder over and over again, and many didn't even know what coffee was. The boys didn't remember how many cups they'd had, and they couldn't even look at it, let alone drink it. Zilk jokingly offered them coffee. The answer came immediately, and both expressed obvious disagreement and indignation. The young man explained that it was just a joke and offered to drink some water. Rudge didn't understand why, to which the guy explained that coffee consumption should be moderate and depend on a person's weight, since excess can be harmful to health. If the discomfort does not go away within a few days, you should immediately stop drinking coffee. This information left the couple in a state of shock. The girl was indignant that they should have been warned about this in advance, because they had another event planned tomorrow. Zilk believed that they should have known about it, because even excessive tea consumption was not recommended. She still continued to be indignant. Why didn't he tell them earlier? Because it was Zilk who was promoting the popularization of all this. He noted this point in his mind to take into account in the future. With difficulty hiding her irritation, Rudge said that help from his side would be very welcome, and she would be grateful. Zilk, in turn, thought to ask for support and consult with Rondell on this matter. The news about potential help made the girl happy, and she asked to ask for help. Zilk's gaze turned to Tristan, who sensed something was wrong and quickly refused, because he had another job tomorrow and would be busy all day. The guys were a little depressed and tired. From the amount of work, the young guy understood this. He had no choice but to agree to ask the man for help. At this point, he was going to leave. He needed to make more coffee grinders, but the girl asked him to stay, and he began to listen to her attentively. Rudge, a little nervously, said that she forgot to tell the news that several additional orders had appeared from several magic counters. Zilk cautiously asked how many orders they had now, and she handed him the sheet, after reading which the guy was confused, because the amount of work was twice as much. He believes that if each store is provided with 5 to 10 products, they will be satisfied. After all, thanks to their efforts, the number of coffee lovers is steadily growing. The guy is tormented by doubts. What if they refuse the items, and what they will have to do with the remains? But if they decide to return the goods, it is not their problem. Besides, they said that they will buy everything. They think that people are addicted to coffee like a drug. Rudge is worried and wonders what will happen if they want to buy more and what their options will be. This question makes Zilk think. He would have been willing to produce a few extra items, since they were quite profitable to sell given their cost. But coffee grinders were considerably cheaper, but he could not let Rondell down. In that case, if it is necessary, the guy is ready to take on the job. He and Rudge were discussing business when suddenly someone knocked and Tristan was the first to notice it. It was Art. He apologized and was embarrassed to see so many people busy with his brother. He timidly entered the office and asked if they were working, and only then did everyone notice him. Zilk asked what he needed. Art said that he wanted to discuss the details of the evening with Count Blend, and this was the perfect moment for the young man. He had just finished his business and suggested that they discuss everything in a cafe. Art was surprised by such kindness and suspected something was wrong, while Rudge and Tristan pretended not to know anything. They came to a cafe where the pleasant aroma of coffee was in the air. The younger brother asked if this was the place he often visited and heard an affirmative answer. The man greeted the boys. Zilk introduced his brother, who greeted him and apologized for any inconvenience his older brother might have caused him. The elder was indignant and asked him to stop saying such things. Rondell introduced himself as the owner of the coffee shop and said that Zilk does not cause any problems, but on the contrary often helps. He invited them to the counter and they sat down obediently. The man noticed their striking resemblance, which caused him a strange feeling, although it was not surprising, because they were brothers. They had similar eye color and hair color, but otherwise the brothers were significantly different from each other, which is quite natural considering that they are not twins. Art asked what they were going to order, and Zilk chose coffee, and Rondell took the order. It was in his establishment that he first tried this drink. The younger brother mentioned that at the Count's tea party he would also drink coffee, and then it dawned on him. He remembered that Zilk had said something about this meeting and asked for details. The guy realized that This was the perfect chance. The older brother said that he had to be there. Art expressed hope that he would go too, but he refused. The boy did not understand the reason, because he had to be there, but Zilk could not because of work. Moreover, he had already supplied coffee grinders, so he should not be offended by his absence. Art was worried that he did not know him and did not know anything about him. He was sure that Zilk's presence would have been useful, but his brother remained adamant. He was lazy, and the guy didn't understand why he wanted to drag him there. He explained that it was a great opportunity for him to acquire the skills needed by the head of the family. Art understands that this makes sense, but is still afraid of behaving inappropriately in the presence of such an important person, and asks for advice on what to say. Zilk suggests, explaining that he could not come because of work. He explained that they were inundated with orders for coffee grinders from several other paws, so he had no choice and would not be able to come. Zilk looked on, hoping that this would work, but his younger brother offered to help. He was extremely unhappy with this answer, and in general, this was to be expected. The guy asked whether he would be able to cope with 150 orders. Art assured him that he would simply involve all his employees, and there would be no problems. Zilk, playing the sufferer, asked if he was really ready to make such sacrifices to go with him. The plan worked perfectly, and the work was dumped on someone else. Rondell made coffee and served it to the boys. Art took a sip and stared at his cup with a puzzled look. The taste was completely unusual compared to the coffee he made himself, which is not surprising, because Rondell was a real professional. The barista thanked him for the compliment. The man said he was going to attend the Count's party. Zilk realized that Rondell had known in advance that he would come anyway. Art was delighted with this news. It was an honor for a man to treat important people of the city to such delicious coffee. The guy was absolutely delighted with such delicious coffee. Zilk looked at Art with displeasure, and Art, pretending to be innocent, smiled back. The young man knew that Rondell knew that he was trying to deceive him. He said that the official sales of coffee grinders would begin the following week. The man was happy, because sales would start soon. Zilk wanted to sell not only coffee grinders, but also coffee beans, and he was interested in whether Rondell could prepare them. He agreed and would get the necessary beans without much effort. The guy had one more request, and both looked at him, waiting to hear what it was. He asked for instructions on how to make coffee in coffee grinders to be written, as many people lacked knowledge on the matter. The man was happy to support such an idea, which would help spread coffee throughout the city. At this rate, coffee would be well popularized and his cafes would be visited more often. Everyone would benefit from it. Thanks to Rondell, Rudge and Tristan breathed a sigh of relief, but an unexpected problem arose because he worked so hard. It led to an increase in demand for coffee grinders, which increased his own work. However, Zilk has redirected a significant portion of the orders to Art, confident that they can handle the new orders received thanks to Rondell. Sales of coffee grinders have been growing steadily. That evening, the carriage with Art and Rondell was waiting for Zilka. The younger brother waved to him, urging him on. Zilk, seeing his younger brother beaming with joy, did not understand where so much enthusiasm came from, because he was going somewhere he didn't want to go at all. The boy asked his brother how the additional orders were going, and learned that he had passed them on to Rudge. Fearing possible problems, he asked him to double-check everything later. His concern was understandable, because he and his brother represented their family and did not want to fall flat on their face. Despite his brother's words, Zilk trusted him and had confidence in him, since he entrusted him with his work. The young man asked if everyone was going to the garden. It turned out that this was stated in the invitation, which he, of course, did not bother to read, since he was too lazy. Count Bland expressed his gratitude to the guests for accepting the invitation. Art warmly greeted the host, emphasizing that it was a great honor for them to be invited to this evening. The host suggested that they drop formalities in their conversation. The assembled were already looking forward to meeting members of the Lurin family. Soon they met Leonard, who was also present at the event. Zilk, with displeasure, asked the reason for his visit. In response, he heard that Leonard had learned of the opportunity to try a drink created with the help of a magical instrument that he had created, and the designer must learn everything new. Besides, he was driven by curiosity. Leonard seemed like a frivolous person with a lot of free time. Zilk felt people staring at him from behind. They probably knew him, and they were the barons who had attended Leonard's party earlier. He couldn't figure out who they were talking about until Art reminded him of the girls who had approached him before. Zilk remembered those 3 girls and immediately guessed that these were their fathers, which surprised him quite a bit. The barons visibly tensed up. They introduced themselves one by one, Gabina, Leopold, and Kroa. Then, they sheepishly apologized to Zilku for the inconvenience their daughters had caused. The guy no longer remembered this and did not feel angry. He replied that he accepted their apologies, although it did not particularly bother him. The men thanked him for this. The barons immediately hurried back to their places. Zilk thought they were exaggerating the situation and did not understand the reason for their tension. Perhaps it was because he belonged to the Lurin family, who could take the air out of them with a single movement. Power and wealth made them influential. After the introductions were complete, Blend caught everyone's attention by announcing the upcoming coffee ceremony. The man presented magical tools created by the Lurin family. With their help, coffee beans could be turned into coffee. The crowd watched the process with fascination. Many people held this object in their hands for the first time and did not know how to use it, and the rich aroma of the beans seemed delightful to them. Leonardo was delighted that the coffee grinder was invented by Zilk himself. Accidentally removing the blade, he delightedly noted its beauty, which caused displeasure to Zilk, who demanded that the part be immediately returned to its place. However, Leonardo did not know how to do this. Zilk threatened to register him if he did not return the part immediately. The Count suggested that everyone move on to tasting the coffee, which would be prepared by the real master Rondel. In front of the amazed audience, Rondel began to use the coffee grinder, demonstrating his skills. He was skilled with Zilk's magical tools, and the coffee was ready in no time. The coffee grinder is essentially designed to quickly prepare the drink. Art and Zilk were already drinking coffee in the morning and offered Leonardo and Blenda a drink. They were only happy and were looking forward to it. They did not refuse. The man really liked the drink. As usual, he praised Rondel's creation, but for the guy, the taste was too bitter, to which Zilk advised adding milk. Coffee with milk was to the taste of many. The aroma of the drink was delightful, and preferences were divided. Some preferred it with additives, and some in its pure form. Blend, having foreseen everything, prepared sweets in advance which perfectly complemented the taste of coffee and invited everyone who wanted to try it. There were so many people who wanted to try the drink that many asked for more. Gathered at the table, Count Blend decided to discuss with Zilk issues related to the work of a barista. The rest of the guys at the meeting, giving them the opportunity to talk in private, left. Blend motioned to Rondel, who was passing by. He wanted to discuss with him the spread of coffee culture, and Rondel could not refuse such a request. Blend dreamed of distributing coffee, and as far as he remembered, the man shared his views. He confirmed that his opinion had not changed, and he still wanted the same. Blend had no doubts about this matter. Thanks to the magical tools created by Zilk, there would be no problems with making and drinking coffee in the future. If they continue like this, the drink will quickly gain popularity, and they will need more masters like Rondel, who can make a great drink. We cannot ignore the fact that there are not enough qualified baristas yet, so it is necessary to train as many people as possible. Zilk knew it was important to pass on his knowledge and experience, otherwise the coffee culture could be forgotten. In the end, he just wanted to enjoy delicious coffee. Rondel expressed his willingness to share his knowledge and experience to advance coffee culture. The Count was pleased to hear this and promised to send his most capable servant to him for training. Zilk suggested first, asking the master himself whether he wanted to take on additional responsibilities. He explained that he would miss the calm atmosphere and communication with regular customers in his cafe. However, he was not against passing on his business to a successor and offered to send students to him. Blend promised to choose the most talented one. Zilk offered to pay for the training. The Count agreed with the importance of this issue and supported the idea of weekly payments. Rondel was pleased, as he would have the opportunity not only to share his experience, but also to earn money from it. All the issues were resolved and discussed. After a short conversation, they shook hands. The fathers of the three girls turned to Zilk. He turned around, expecting to know what they wanted. They asked to sell them some coffee grinders, but as far as Zilk remembered, Count Blend had already given the coffee grinders to the guests. It turned out that they wanted to give gifts to their friends and acquaintances. Someone planned to send a coffee grinder to their father for his birthday, and someone to their grandfather. An irritated Zilk was about to ask what it was to him, but Art intervened and suggested that the Lurin family make coffee grinders as a token of friendship. The men gratefully accepted the offer. Zilk was unhappy that they had answered for him, but his younger brother explained that it was a good reason for reconciliation. They had given refrigerators and stoves before, which had helped improve their relationship. It was hard being an aristocrat. That's why he needed Zilk's help, but he refused, since he had already been drawn into matters that he didn't like. After a busy day, Zilk needed some rest. While cleaning, he was thinking about his next steps and accidentally came across a small piece of paper on the dresser. It turned out to be a VIP ticket to the concert, a gift from Katarina as a token of gratitude. In principle, it could have been used. Without thinking twice, he decided to spend the evening at a concert where a girl was performing. Her orchestra had a performance scheduled today. The place was packed with people, because the start was soon and everyone who wanted to buy tickets was told that they were sold out. The crowd was disappointed, which was to be expected. The tickets sold out immediately. Zilk approached the counter, and the worker was just about to inform him that it was impossible to buy them when she heard that he had an invitation. Hearing this, she quickly apologized and offered to take him to the right place. The guy was pleased, realizing the power that money gives. He was seated in the premium area, which was much more luxurious than the regular seats. The girl asked him what he wanted to drink, and Zilk asked for plain water. People were already taking their seats and looking at the stage. Suddenly, the sound of the organ was heard, announcing the beginning of the concert. The musicians began to come out one by one, but someone was missing among them. And after a while, the guy finally found with his eyes the one he was looking for. It was Katarina, elegantly dressed and holding her violin in her hands. Zilk listened with pleasure to the beautiful music, and now one part was completed. The conductor announced to the audience that Katarina had written the next composition herself. Everyone began to wait for this moment with enthusiasm. Zilk listened and watched attentively and noticed something. There were fewer and fewer people in the hall, and more string instruments, and then it dawned on him. Classical music from the young man's world was performed on stage. Once, during a personal meeting with Katarina, he described her to her. The concert ended, and the musicians stood up to say goodbye to the audience, who showered them with applause. Katarina's music impressed Zilka so much that he wanted to record it someday. The next day, the girls' orchestra training came to an end. Her colleague praised the girls, noting their excellent performance. She thanked Laura and praised her in return, saying that the girl was also great. But she thought that Katarina was much better, since she not only played well, but also composed music herself. Without her, they would never have become famous. The music she wrote became very popular. She had big ambitions, and without them, development is impossible. Without outstanding skills or abilities, it is difficult for an artist to get to the top. Katarina herself understood that she did not have a special talent for music, and was upset by this fact. All her success was due to the support of her neighbor Zilka, so she should have worked harder on her skills as a composer and musician. Laura wanted to know something. She was interested in why Katarina suddenly decided to perform new music today, although she had previously planned to postpone it. Embarrassed by the question, the girl replied that she simply thought the public would like it. However, her colleagues looked at her with suspicion. The girl noticed that during the concert, Katarina was staring at the second-floor balconies, which made her wary. She was distracted so often that she almost lost her train of thought at the beginning. Her colleagues decided that she had an admirer, but she angrily asked them to shut up, threatening to take their lives. After practice, Katarina suggested that they all have a drink together, but they were a little taken aback and then looked at each other. They refused, citing urgent matters. This was unexpected, and the girl asked about their plans. The musicians did not respond immediately, but it eventually turned out that they had a private request for a concert. This decision seemed strange, since private orders often cause trouble. However, the client offered good pay and looked respectable, and the fee was doubled. He rented a hall and asked to perform several compositions. He had good taste, although he was not a musician. Apparently, the client was a big shot. A little disappointed, but not showing it, Katarina agreed that it was a good job and said goodbye to her colleagues. She invited Duango, but he also declined, citing his busy schedule. Esmera and Bridget also declined, explaining that they had part-time jobs. Katarina wanted to get closer to her orchestra colleagues, but perhaps she was too persistent. The girls reported that the client approached each of them. It turned out that the same client had approached everyone except her, which seemed strange and awkward. Katarina herself also understood this. The guys said goodbye to her, promising to have a drink next time. They headed off to fulfill a private order. Left alone, she reflected on the reasons for her exclusion. Katarina acknowledged her shortcomings as a composer, but as a musician, she was no worse than others, which was irritating. She was filled with rage at the realization of injustice. As her colleagues headed to the client, Katarina quietly followed them, determined to find out who he was. She wouldn't rest until she found out. In the hall, she ran to the closed door and looked through the peephole, trying to see what was happening. She saw the musicians, but she couldn't see the client. Then she noticed him talking to Laura with his back to her. Suddenly the door opened and the customer asked her what she was doing there. Katerina looked at him in amazement and recognized Silk. In a rage, she asked him what he was doing there.